So that's your job. And your job is to be willing to die. You're a soldier, man. You're so on the front line. You've gone too far to turn back. If you went and hid in a basement for 6 weeks, people all over the world would think the government had killed you. So you have to understand your obligation, what the universe have gave you. And so just wants you to know. Man, I looked at that smile on your face just now. And the first time I ever wished I was a photographer, to take that picture and let the world see that honesty and that integrity. And know some of the things I know, how you'll drive all over the country to chase us down.
It's like a stalking, though.
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Chase us down. Okay?
I do feel like I have an obligation for people. I mean, it's bigger than me.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But no, being business, you can't see it. It was business to Trump. He saw nothing.
All right.
Okay? Well, I just saw it, that smile. Okay? And so again, I just say, man, I thank you. I look at Kathy Hughes, what she's able to do with that show. I look at Carl Nelson, the Joe Madisons. You know, some can go further than others because some got leeway. But I just say, man, to sit here, my birthday, it's a weekend. Thank you for contributing to my birthday. You know, all I say is thank you. We move so fast. I don't know if you're married, I don't know if you're a family, I don't know if you're a wife. But when we get on here, we bosom friends. Anytime I see you, I stop whatever I'm doing. Hey, my man, how are you? Hey. Hey, man, what, you know? I owe that to you. Because together, we can beat this thug. Because it's the universal God. And so again, I just say thank you. Thank you for running me down, man. So again, but that's the obligation that you have. How old are you?
I'm 36.
Well, you don't have the right to do what 36 people do. You don't have the right to go to the dance or go to the party. You don't have a right to take that trip to Europe when I might need that plane fare to fly somebody else to feed my people that love me. You feed them. Oh, it's one thing being hungry from food. Right. There's another thing being hungry for information.
That's right.
And that's you the feeder. You got to be the farmer. You got to grow the crop. You got to till the grain. And at nighttime, when you hear something that sounds like water, you got to go see if the crop's going to be flooded. That's your job, man.
That's right.
And then you got to deal with people that think you're crazy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, that's their way out. I'm embarrassed that you told me this, and I didn't know it, so I think you're crazy. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Baba Gregory. And the words of the great Duke Ellington, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And that intro never gets old. Welcome back, family, to another wonderful, entertaining, edutaining edition of The Artivist. Thinks we all be news-free Dixie for the 21st century. I'm your host for the empowerment segment, Brother Ron. Got a special guest on his way to join us, the one and only, the Honorable Judge Joe Brown. Get down with Judge Joe Brown. He's coming around on We All Be today. Got a lot of things to talk about. Some things related to Memphis, some things national, some international. but it's going to be a great time had by all. But there's a lot going on. I'm only one person. I work a full-time job, and I got a lot of other stuff going on. But there'll be a lot of things be happening in these news cycles that go by very, very very fast, right? People still don't get the most important news stories are normally still released on Fridays. The reason why they release the most important news stories of the week on Friday, because by the time Monday comes around, it gets buried. It's buried. It's buried like Jimmy Hoffa. Where is the lead? It's buried with Jimmy Hoffa. That's the issue. But also, what we need to start doing is start being more educated. Like I think the trick is people that are popular right now. A lot of times it's all about connecting with emotions. You can be passionate. You can be passionately wrong. A lot of times people say you want to catch that wave, you got to be the first to catch it. And the first story is not always the most accurate, correct story. And that's the thing people got to realize. So there's a lot of people that's popular that's leading people off a cliff. I mean, there's a lot of popular podcasts. They jump right on it. They go in, you following them because it's hot, it's spicy, it's dangerous, but you're not seeing the cliff ahead. You're not seeing that curve. So what I try to do as best I can is try to sit back a little bit and figure how things start to play out and how to shape out. We're going to be talking about a couple of things on the show today that deal with how sometimes you got to step away and be patient and see how some things develop and play out. Bobby Dick Gregory taught me that. He taught me about how the first story is the first draft. Story narrative change within 24 to 48 hours. Now you got these things, these psyops that go on, where you hear the police radio or scanner, there's multiple shooters. Then the next thing you know, within 48 hours, there's only one shooter. But maybe there were multiple shooters. The thing about American history, there's no such thing as the lone gun man, M-A-N. There's no such thing as a lone gun man. There are lone gun men. So let's get that straight. But it's important to talk about these things. I'm in Memphis right now. It's weird to me, like, for example, the Memphis thing. To hear people on social media trying to critique the Memphis situation. I'm in Memphis. I'm from here. I was raised here. I'm an ambassador of Memphis. But the thing about how people want to critique Memphis is fascinating. I see YouTubers and social media influencers who never been down below the Mason-Dixon line talking stuff about the Memphis situation. Well, it's interesting being a Memphian. I do not see the presence of the National Guard. I'm downtown. I move around. I don't see really a heavy military presence as some people like to portray on their social medias. They say stuff about Memphis. They understand. I have people that got huge followers I heard on social media. They said the Lorraine Motel is run down. These are folks that got 100,000 plus followers saying in Memphis, the Lorraine Motel is ran down. Lorraine Motel is now the National Civil Rights Museum. That's a multi-million-dollar real estate. It's not ran down. Now, when I was a kid back in the 80s, relatives would come out of town. We'll take them to Lorraine. Lorraine was like, it was on the track back in the 80s, but it was saved by the man and other folks coming together. Very brilliant, community-minded black men with standing in Memphis society, coming together to save that property in what is now known as the National Civil Rights Museum. There are so many good, feel-good stories about Memphis that's not being told, but it's really weird that people are following folks that have never been in Memphis, never been in Tennessee. They'll tell you what's going on in Memphis today and everything in the past. But without further ado, we got our special esteemed guest, one of the co-founders and the savior of what's now known as the National Civil Rights Museum, They just had their Freedom Awards gala a couple of days ago. But if it was for the effort of men like this that we're about to bring on the platform, there would not be a civil rights museum to speak of. Hell, there would not even been a Lorraine Motel to speak of. Without further ado, a man about town that's know what's going down. It is time to get down with Judge Joe Brown. How you doing, sir?
Hey, young man, I like your rhymes. That's all right.
I got that from you.
Hey,
I'll
what
pick
can
it up
I
on
say?
you, man. How you doing,
All
Judge?
right. Okay, I heard this. What happened is the Lorraine Motel was on the whole track. I mean, it was an hourly rate place, even when King was there.
Yes, sir.
And there were money offers being given to the proprietor, a gentleman by the name of Walter Bailey, who is not related to the attorney and former county commissioner of the same name. Well, he was thinking of settling it. So a guy we called Mr. Bobo, who ran a club that had nothing to do with the connotations that the name now has, called the Gay Hawk, Chuck Scruggs, who was with WDIA, Randy Wade, who was with the Sheriff's Department, myself, and attorney A.W. Willis, who has some unsung claim to fame for getting the photographs out of Mississippi, along with the late Russell Sugarman, that wound up in the governor of Illinois demanding Emmett Till's body be returned to Illinois. Some outright heroics. Anyway, he and the rest of us got together and we were discussing what to do with it. Well, one of the things that came up was, let's see if we can get a historical plaque for the area. Now, if you go around Memphis, you see these historical plaques, and sometimes they're just in isolation. Like right across the street from the civil courthouse is a plaque that says Nathan Bedford Forrest, and his partner had the largest slave selling business in America located right at that spot, but there's no building. That was Maples. And that's what we thought was going to happen. But we had some lunch meetings over the period of a couple of months, and somebody said, well, maybe they can save the facade. And then I came up with the idea. I said, you know what? Let's see if we can make this thing a museum and we can get funding for that, and it can become something of a national location to go check out what happened during this effort to get the Civil Rights Acts and the actualization of segregation being ended. So that was my idea. Anyway, we all bought into it, and AW did all of the paperwork, got all the documents signed. We had a meeting and went through it. And he went back to his office and he was going to get it boxed up and sent off that afternoon, but he collapsed and he died 4 days later. So there was another attorney who was contacted by AW's secretary, and he mailed it off and put a cover letter on it. And now there's a plaque saying that he's the founder of the museum. He's not, but you know, he's dead too. So I won't say anything bad about him or anything like that. He good lawyer. And anyway, that's how we got the Civil Rights Museum. Now, somebody that tried to grandstand decided without anyone's permission to get George Herbert Walker Bush, President of the United States, to officiate at the grand opening. And it was a farce. So everybody's out there in the hot sun waiting on the president to show up, and the band struck up "Hail to the Chief," I think 4 times. But it was a false alarm because nobody showed. He didn't RSVP. And after several hours, everybody just went home. So it is what it is. And that's how you get the Civil Rights Museum, which does serve the function of having some pretty graphic photographs in there. Now, frankly, one of the things that I thought we ought to do was showcase Ernest Withers, who had been one of the first 7 modern black cops in Memphis, and also from World War II, he was a photographer, where he did photography for the War Department relative to black military units. So I told him when I met him about 50 years ago, I said, sir, they're going to wind up making a museum to honor what you had. And I thought that we could do that in Memphis with what's now the Civil Rights Museum. Now, he has some pictures in there, but his family has opened up since his passing a museum and a repository for the negatives in his photography down on Beale Street. And there is a permanent exhibit in the Smithsonian Institution of his work, because he got just about everybody that was active in the so-called civil rights movement on his camera.
Right.
So I went down there one time with some of the family members to go over this stuff and started identification. You know, I go back 50 some years in Memphis, even though I'm a native of Los Angeles. So it is what it, LA and DC. So it is what it is. But that's the story of how we get the Civil Rights Museum doing what it's doing. Now, they've also acquired the Flop House across the street. They put a tunnel under the ground to go over there, and it doesn't look like it used to, because there's been some remodeling, let's say, of the area to make it more friendly to tourists. So it's a place that's interesting. And one of the things that I got into kind of deeply when I was the last judge on the James Earl Ray case, he's the alleged assassin of Dr. Martin Luther King, was why did he wind up at the Lorraine Motel instead of staying where he was at the flagship hotel for the Holiday Inn franchise, which was known as the Rivermont. And he actually was integrating the Rivermont at the time, and that's what civil rights leaders do, is break down segregation. So some local people were chiding him to go someplace in the community, and they made the arrangements at the Lorraine Motel. And frankly, from what I picked up being over the case and looking into all of the evidence that had been adduced, and some I allowed to be brought in for the record, was that it was a setup. The Lorraine Motel had been carefully surveyed. J. Edgar Hoover of the FBI was aware of this, and he assisted what wound up happening, which was 2 snipers were recruited from the Marine Sniper School in Quantico, Virginia, which was on the same base as the FBI training academy. So somebody just walked across the tarmac and had some off-the-record discussions and said, you can do a great favor to the country by getting rid of this military. Well,
hey, Judge getting into the good stuff. I hope we get him back on. It'll be tech difficulties when you're telling this truth stuff. So it's interesting, Judge, talking about this. This is important history right here. Judge got a lot of information. He got a lot of experience handling these situations. Judge, you are kind of sideways, man. All right, there you
hello.
go. You
Every time we get to something good, it seems that I get cut off. You get to wondering about it, and my phone says, Bill advised that there is an perhaps unauthorized, et cetera, on your line. But anyway.
Yes, sir. So you, yeah.
Yeah,
so
but see, it was 2 Marine snipers. It was a 2-man team. The shot came from the fire station, not the flop house or the bushes. The reason people think it was over there is because they hit King with a subsonic bullet. So the sound got to where he was before the bullet got there. And the sound reflected off of the front of the motel, as per some experiments we wound up doing later on. and the echo from the shots goes right over there. So people would naturally think, oh, right over there. And
Judge, you ever got a chance to talk to, it was black firemen stationed at that fire station that got
yeah,
moved?
we did. What happened is also Redding,
Yeah, I'm gonna
a
say, yeah, you
black
talked
cop.
I'm saying ready. Yeah, I talked to him
Yeah,
before.
yeah, he was. Interesting thing happened to him. He ran for
Mm-hmm.
sheriff up in Haywood County, which is, by the way, where the real Buford Pusser
Mm-hmm.
was stationed before he got assassinated up there. And what went on is there were black detectives and sergeants on the
Okay.
Memphis Police Department that were serving as security for King, and they were ordered to leave his side because the allegation was is that there were threats received against them. They refused, but they were ordered by their commander to go downtown and
Mm-hmm.
leave the site. They did. Well, Reddick refused.
Mm-hmm.
And he says what wound up happening is 10 fellow officers, white,
Mm-hmm.
showed up and they double handcuffed him and hog tied his legs with a rope and dumped him unceremoniously in the back seat of a car and removed him. That was after this black fireman was told that something bad had happened to his son, probably an accident. So he took off to go check, found out nothing was wrong with the boy,
Mm-hmm.
and called back and said, I'll be back, and was told, hey, just take the day off. And Reddick refused to remove himself. And after being removed, then that's when everything started and it went down. So King was leaving the motel. He was going out of the east side. Reverend Billy Kyles got him and said, hey, Reverend, talking to Dr. King, some of your fans are out by the pool, which used to be out there on the west side of the building. It's not there now.
Mm-hmm.
And King walked out. Kyle stepped back in, and there was an interesting dialogue that was had a few years ago that our late friend recorded. And Kyles was asked why he stepped back in, and he said, I didn't want to get shot. But we know what that conversation is about because the gentleman that recorded it told us about it and played it for us.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very suspect. That was Dick Gregory I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. So
And what happens is King is out there. The bullet hits him right here on the right cheek, takes out his upper molars, rips up
mm-hmm.
his tongue, comes out between his lower jaws, leaves the body, hits the clavicle, goes around under the skin, tears up the right carotid artery complex, goes over his back and lodges in the rear. So that's not uncommon. Sometimes I had participated in murder cases and somebody gets shot here and there's a hole coming out the back and you think the person got shot straight through.
Mm-hmm.
Bullet hit, goes around the rib and comes out the back. There's no penetration of the thorax. But the rumors about somebody smothering him at the hospital, that's just street nonsense because he wasn't going to be alive at 20, 30 seconds after he got shot. He was done for. You don't live with your carotid artery complex completely destroyed on one side. So
well,
the shot,
yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead, sorry, sir.
the shot was taken from the fire station, not the flop house. And as a matter of fact, the current exhibit in the flop house itself from the the Civil Rights Museum, quotes me, and it says, if you go through the long blurb, that when they checked, you couldn't open the window in the flop house bathroom enough to shoot a rifle through it. And you would have had to put one foot on a toilet, the other one on a bathtub, and hold on with one hand and shoot the rifle one-handed if you were going to do it anyway.
Right.
And there was supposedly somebody with a weapon seen behind the bushes, but that actually appears to have been some cop that was out there doing oversight on the situation. So I found something very suspect, and that was that in the record, they had one of these 3D maps with everything done in scale, small miniature buildings in the layout, which would take quite a few days to make up, but they had it within 24 hours, which indicates to me they had already had it made up, measured the distances and everything else. So the two-man team was on the second floor of the fire station. And if you look now, you see there are some sliding windows about this high, about 5 or 6 feet across. And on the day in question, it was parted, and somebody had the rifle set up on sandbags on a table inside. Nobody's hanging out of a window like they do in the movies. As a matter of fact, we even wound up acquiring the serial numbers for 5 of the suspect weapons that were furnished to the FBI on invoice in late December 1967. And then there's an inventory that the Justice Department required of the FBI late April 1968, demanding the return of the 5 rifles that the FBI had gotten. And the FBI claimed they lost one. And that one, we know the serial number for that one. That's the murder weapon. And there were also 5,000 rounds of the ammunition that matches the specifications of what they pulled out of King's body. There was a very peculiar aspect of the ballistics. The bullet that comes from King's body was said to be too badly mutilated to test, but it was not. And the FBI cut it into 6 parts to make it difficult. But we had a scanning electron microscope work on it. The ballistic striations on the bullet are very clear, and they revealed that the weapon that fired the fatal shot had a rate of rifling twist of 1 turn in every 11 1/4 inches. Ray's rifle had a rate of rifling twist of 1 turn in every 10 inches, and when we got the test done, his rifle doesn't match the one that fired the fatal shots. Now, there is a very peculiar thing about that rifle. The only way that you could get a rifle with those characteristics at the time was to either have a special gunsmith make you one up, or you got an XM21, which was an experimental weapon that the U.S. Army was using, and also the Marine Corps. And the Army marksmanship unit made 62 copies of those and 1 extra barrel as a spare. It ultimately became the M21, which was still in service in the last Gulf dust-up starting in 2001 and 2003. So it is what it is.
Oh, Judge, I want to ask you this, because I know I noticed, because the chief surgeon at St. Joseph's was Dr. George Breen Bland. He died September 12, 2001. His son, George Breen Bland Jr., who was a lawyer, he died back in December of last year. Dr. William Pepper has been peddling his books. It's been out for years, revisions, The Plot to Kill King. Why didn't anybody from Breen Bland's family say, hey, man, you're slandering or whatever, this libel, whatever? Why
you can't libel a dead man. See, the whole thing about defamation of character is to prevent somebody walking up to another somebody and pulling out their gauntlet and slapping them across the face and saying, you have insulted me. I challenge you to a duel. So if the person who is insulted is dead, he can't go slap somebody across the face with a gauntlet and say, my seconds will see yours and we will arrange our duel. You shall have choice of weapon.
What about his son, though? I mean, his son is a lawyer, right? He didn't go after this guy.
But that wasn't widely published at the time. So, I mean, it's like New York Times versus Sullivan, U.S. Supreme Court, 1962. When you are a public figure, you're pretty much open to all kinds of nasty things being said about you, so long as someone doesn't knowingly or recklessly declare a falsehood.
Okay, I don't know when he started incorporating. He wrote 3 King books, Dr. William Pepper. I guess the first one came out
I know Dr. Pepper
in
from being
1995,
in,
The Orders to Kill King.
well, yeah, but I
Orders to
know
Kill.
him from being in my courtroom. I have encountered him several times on the circuit, talk circuit. And quite frankly, I don't buy into a lot of what he lays out. I don't.
Also, yeah, but also was weird though, because
it wasn't any conspiracy of the mob or anybody else or some cranks who we have a few around who were trying to claim glory. It was simply that the FBI recruited 2 tested veteran snipers to go do a job for the United States. You have to understand the context. This is 1968. The Nam War was at its hottest. Robert Kennedy got assassinated. King got assassinated. You had the Tet Offensive, where the North Vietnamese astutely showed the American public that they were being lied to. Things were not under control. You had Walter Cronkite, a very trusted journalist, unlike the crews we have now, who went over there and did his research and came back with a lengthy and detailed report about what was going on. And you had all of the people in an upset where you had the anti-war demonstrations, which were not 1,000 people, 400 people. They were 20,000 and 30,000 at a time. And you had another thing going on where Hoover thought King was going to not do something with civil rights because that was a dead issue then. All of the laws necessary for the purpose had already been passed. And it was militancy, black power, that kind of thing, white power, SDS, brown berets, you name it. And people were a lot deeper into doing something than they are these days. This George Floyd, BLM stuff, Antifa, that's just candy apple crap compared to what was going on.
Well, so
Hoover thought King was going to galvanize the anti-war movement and revitalize labor, which in his view was poisonous to the country's interests. And he thought King was a communist. So we've got the internal memoranda and this thing that Trump said about releasing all of the documents. They've already been released for 35 years. It's just that you had to make a request for a certain type of document.
In that era, it was a whole different scale.
Hold up.
So
Phil?
you had to.
Yep, I'm right here, brother.
You can hear me? Judge screen froze. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you loud.
Hey, Judge. Yeah, okay. I got this. Hey, Phil, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Ron? Sounds like you got a lot going on over there, but I'm right here with you.
Yeah, I want to introduce you to Judge Joe Brown. Do you know who he is?
Absolutely, I know who Judge Joe Brown is. I'd be honored to say hello if he's around.
Yeah, he's around.
How you doing? What's happening? How you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you, Judge.
All right.
This is Phil, Judge. I call him Phil, but this is actually Chat GPT. And I want to show so tell us about who Judge Joe Brown is. Can you tell us, Phil?
Of course. Well, Judge Joe Brown is pretty well known as a former television personality and a real-life judge. He had his own court TV show where he presided over cases with that signature straightforward style. And of course, he's been involved in a lot of community discussions and commentary. So definitely a figure a lot of folks know about.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
we're discussing my previous career before I got that show. I tried a whole lot of murder cases, and I presided over the James Earl Ray King matter. And matter of fact, I ultimately, after I left the bench, wound up testifying as an expert witness in ballistics in a trial that the King family brought, a civil trial. So, yeah, it's very interesting what we discovered. Storyline is a preposterous fake. Ray was no way connected with killing King. He might have been a junior grade accessory, and he was one of 3 or 4 alternative scapegoats. And we've got the internal memoranda. What really happened is the FBI recruited a 2-man sniper team from the Marine Sniper School in Quantico, Virginia, which was right next to the FBI training academy up there. They supplied the weapon, the ammunition, and the shot by the 2-man team came from the fire station, not the flop house nor the bushes. That's the long and short of it. So all of that stuff that Dr. Pepper came up with about the conspiracies of Raoul and all of this nonsense, that's just, well, without a respect to the dead, it isn't what it is.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. It's definitely one of those moments where having that firsthand insight makes a big difference. And it's fascinating to hear it straight from you. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and there's some other stuff too. It's a huge file. And I won't get into it, but we had recordings, years worth of recordings that the FBI did of King. And some of it's very embarrassing. Some of it shouldn't have been done. Some of it needs to be suppressed. But what I was getting into was these records that are supposedly out there now. They've been out there for a long time. You just had to make a specific request and pay for the information. Now they're to be published. What happened is in 1989, the U.S. Congress passed a resolution that required that all federal agencies that had investigated assassinations or attempted assassinations were to release those records, and they were going to put them in a repository, which wound up being on 14th Street in downtown D.C. I've physically been on the premises. What wound up is that happening after that was George Herbert Walker Bush issued an executive order to back that up, as did President William Clinton. So if you made a request, paid your fee, they would provide you with certified copies of the documents. And a lot of that is very, very interesting when you read them, not just for the King thing, but also for the Kennedy events as well, the George Wallace situations and stuff like that. So there's a lot we don't know about because it's been concealed. And one of the big problems is that invariably the agency that Congress and all of the committees assigned to do the investigation turned out to be the agency that was either responsible for the killing, the attempted killing, or was complicit in it or covered it up. So we do not have the complete record. There are some fine FBI agents, but there is a legacy of absolute treachery in that organization, both from how it got founded to catch the first Black world heavyweight champion, Jack Johnson, in a situation where he could be imprisoned. And that resulted in the Mann Act, which most recently you saw Diddy, and before that R. Kelly prosecuted under.
Well, imagine this, Judge. Can we trust, since we know that the gun came from the FBI to kill King, can we trust their historical records to be accurate and honest?
No, you can't.
Okay. That's good.
No, you can't.
Yeah. So you also brought up the Diddy thing. Like your assessment of the sentence?
Is within reason. I don't know what the guidelines say, but if you ever filled out your income tax,
Mm-hmm.
did you know how much you were going to wind up owing the government
No,
or
no.
getting refunded from the government? Why?
More like
Because you had to go through and fill them out, didn't you?
Yeah, yes, sir.
And subtract point such from line 23 and then add the line 13. Well, that's what the federal guidelines for sentencing do. You have to go through this thing, and the judge on the record has to answer the questions that are being asked. And when he does it, he kind of sort of totals it up and does the computations, and that determines what the sentence is supposed to be.
And Judge, I want to tell you something. I think it's an interesting phenomenon. I know we live in Chocolate City, but I was on a military base recently. I count these white men, these military guys. They really respect you. They like listening to you. Hey, white military guys, even white guys in Memphis. I work on a job. They say, "Hey, man, Judge Brown said this and that." Why do you think you resonate with those guys?
Well, like I tell other people, how good a basketball player was LeBron, or is LeBron, or was Magic Johnson, or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, aka Big Lou, who was a classmate of mine at UCLA. Pretty good. But in 1946, the NBA was one of the most segregated and racist institutions in the United States. It's if you wind up breaking the ice like Don Barksdale from UCLA did when the Lakers hired him in 1946, and you have some people that know what the game is, you can make it. Nobody's giving LeBron or what he got because he's black. He got the ability. So I listen to all of these people that have stepped going through school, that have stepped through life, that are trying to run a hustle, and they are playing this race game over and over for their little hustles. And they've got this Pavlovian effect that they can count on, which is like Pavlov trained the dog to eat while the bell was ringing. So after a while, when he rang the bell, the dog would salivate like he was eating. It's called the Pavlov effect. You say to a lot of Negroes, you know, something about race, and they just give a programmed reaction because we've been setting that up for the last 70 some years in this country. So you get that kind of situation going, and some hustlers, and we've got quite a few of them in Memphis. In fact, one of them you've been talking to me about, and some other people have been talking to me about, just want to always play that race card, which is silly in Memphis because look at us. We're run by black. So where is this white supremacy that we keep getting thrown at us that's supposed to be at fault for incompetence in government? You know, 75% of the jury pool is black, so the jury is responsible for guilt or innocence. You have 60% of the criminal court judges are black and female, only one black male, but you've got the majority black. You've got a black sheriff, a female black chief of police. You've got 75% of the deputies and the cops are black. You've got 2 white people on the whole board of education with its incompetence. You've got a majority black county commission with its incompetence. You've got a majority clown council calling itself the city council that's black. You've got a half-stepping Urkel Young is the mayor of Memphis, and you've got Jive Lee Harris is the county mayor. They're all black. So you've got clerk of the General Sessions Court, Tammy Sawyer, Miss T, and you see that circus that's going on down there. So where is it that you have white supremacy responsible for this mess? The black officers, most of them are very fine officers, but they lack leadership at the very top. That woman never should have been brought in here to run the police department. And now they're out trying to sue the governor and the president of the United States for bringing in something to restore peace and order. So I've been out every night, late, looking, and I haven't seen Memphis this peaceful in years. I haven't heard any gunshots. I haven't seen any general clowning on the streets. I've seen a lot of bust with people who need to be brought over because, like, what is that fool doing? And then you go on and then, oh, they got him over now, pulled him over. So, I mean, we're getting law and order restored to the city. The people that have been running the city could not maintain or not acquire law and order in this town, or lost it years ago. So what's wrong with the restoration of law and order so the average lady can feel safe pumping gas at a gas station, or you don't have to get very nervous about what's happening to your daughter if they're out and about? And, you know, our homicide rate has gone way down. Several hundred people who have outstanding warrants have been apprehended. We've had 3 kidnapped victims who have been found, quite a few murder suspects who've been apprehended. And that's just, you know, the situation is bad. The town was getting constipated, and what the guard and ICE and FBI and DEA and whatever who have come here, what they're doing is kind of the enema. And you know what happens when you get an enema, shit will fly. So some people get upset. It's got to be done. So
yes, sir.
They need to do something with Chicago too. And all of these little blue boys and girls running around talking about, oh, it's fascism. Well, after their 4 years of lawfare trying to do what they did, repress people's speech and censor ideas, not just profane language, which you can say anything you want now, show anything you want, whenever you want, wherever you want. That used to be the only exception to First Amendment, of doing something like yelling fire in a crowded theater falsely. But nowadays, they want to censor your ability just to discuss or present an idea because it goes against their agenda. That's fascism to me, but they're running around. If we let them in here, the National Guard, we'll have fascism. Well, I don't think anybody is taking it that way, but since you keep putting it that way, maybe that's what you were thinking about doing.
I mean, it's no King's Day, but here's the thing is interesting. Like, Phil, what is the statistics of returned children that have been kidnapped that's been returned to their families over the last 2 or 3 weeks in Memphis, Shelby County?
Hello?
Phil? I guess he went away. He got intimidated. Phil?
Unmute.
I think he kind of scary. He is scary. Phil? Hello? Can you hear me? Phil? I guess he ain't coming. He kind of scary.
Well, yeah, but back to this other thing. See, it's not necessary to start running this race thing. And when you start talking about white supremacy, you're stating a concept where you perceive that somebody's supreme over you. And if somebody's supreme over you, you are, what are you doing? You're inferring your own inferiority. So these people that tend to rely upon this race baiting tend to be people who aren't the strongest, smartest, brightest, wisest people in the first place. And usually if you look under them, they're running a hustle. Like there's one person, for example, Justin Pearson. Okay. He is famous up in Nashville for being for gun control, right? He's running around to the local gun shops and gun ranges talking about he's pro-gun. Nice of him, but, you know, I don't think that would help him with his strong anti-gun supporters up in Nashville, that he is actively indicating he's supporting Second Amendment rights. So I find that kind of incongruity to be something that the public needs to know about, and maybe the news media, channel 3, 5, 13, 24, which are all apparently controlled by the same family interests, need to be a little bit more into being an objective news reporting group. And I think there needs to be some national legislation, again, that prohibits any one entity from controlling the news sources in one location. So that got snatched out of the way. And then we had another one, which is equal time. And up until the 80s, it used to be if you badmouth one politician or political party, the other side got free time to reply or rebut. They don't have that now. So we have partisan reporting. And when you have partisan reporting, it winds up serving as a propaganda mechanism.
Mhm.
And that's what we have.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at this. This is why people are so they ahistorical. Because what I see going on, something came to me this morning. This ain't an occupation, this is a reconstruction. This is like the Republicans did it. You know, the Memphis race massacre led to the Reconstruction Act period being passed. This is his time to reorganize and prioritize. And the thing about it is, like I also say, black supremacy is killing Memphis. It's not white supremacy. It's folks, they think they know they got it all on the ball, but they're working for somebody pulling the strings on them. It's a plantation town. It don't have to be one, but I'm looking at it, is this a chance for black people who have been denied access to get some access? But my thing is, I hate when they say Memphis is poor. Memphis is not, it's engineered poverty. It's not poor. You got all these Fortune 500 companies. You got a billionaire that lived, worked in Memphis, and died in Memphis this past summer named Fred Smith. He grew up in Memphis. He lived in Memphis, and he died in Memphis. He made his money here.
By the way, what state in the United States is number 4 in per capita millionaires?
Tennessee.
And where are most of them?
I get Nashville and Shelby County, right? You know, you got.
Yeah.
They hide their money though. I know people that got money here, they be hiding it.
But here's the thing: we have on one part of Memphis one of the lowest per capita incomes in the nation, and on the other we have one of the highest. And it's not that they object, because they know that people at a very low income are threatening to them when they get out and about. Right. It's just that the way the politics have run is that once black folk got control of the city, instead of doing conscientious stuff and what they need to do, they decided to be petty about it and see what they could selfishly get in their black pockets. We have got a lot of money flowing through here, but it doesn't go to the people because certain folk put it in their pockets and they're crooked. So how are you going to have a crime-free city when some of the biggest crooks sit down in City Hall?
There's a problem. You know what's interesting? You saying that, Judge, and also how you gonna have a society where people are prospering when you don't allow black men to prosper? Because I know working for a black-owned business, they try to hire black men, but because of their past, these are guys, they not on the streets no more. They family men, they raising their kids, but because they got some stain from 20 years ago, they can't get no hire. They can't be hired.
Yeah, and see what we are. But you see, I dealt with this when I was on the bench. I reduced the recidivism in my courtroom from 84% down to 18 when I retired, and it was still dropping. And what I did was just say, hey, you can conquer this problem.
Yeah, so Judge, that's what they do. You see how the powers they think they be? Judge is dropping gems and jewels. They be trying to do this. Look how they do my channel, man. Like, I had to start over. I was close to 100,000 subscribers on my first channel. YouTube demonetized, they blocked. Look what's going on with Judge. He's about to drop gems about black men getting their life back on track, because this country would never be anything if black men and boys not allowed to be all that they should be. And it was a white woman educator on a documentary I saw on HBO years ago. She's from Baltimore. And they'll talk about a prominent, predominantly black high school in Baltimore, how it went from being one of the best schools to, like, you know, now look at now, a lot of our kids are graduating, are functional illiterates. She said until this country do right by black boys and men, this country would not be what it should be, because historically speaking, it's been black men on the front lines. They have been fighting and dying. Black men on the front lines in all areas of human activity, fighting and dying for their liberation that frees everybody else. Remember, white women and women in general do not get the right to vote until black men pick up them guns and stuff, got their U.S. colored troops. They fought in the Civil War. You know, black men was able to get the franchise after the white men. You remember Andrew Jackson, Tennessee guy, who founded Memphis. First, the only people that could vote were white men who owned stuff. Like George Carlin, the comedian, was talking about the ownership club. The only ones that could vote was white men that owned property. But then Andrew Jackson, who is, I think, Donald Trump, if not his favorite, one of his favorite presidents, the guy who took on the central bank Rothschild interests, who they tried to assassinate in the White House. Yeah, I know about the Trail of Tears. I know about Hermitage and all that stuff. But he gave all white men the right to vote. And also, if you think about Andrew Jackson, his name was made at the Battle of New Orleans. And as much of a racist and bigot he was, he had to make a deal with black men down there to win that war. So black men and black people, but black men in particular, there's something about black men who stand up for themselves and for other people that open the way for everybody. The civil rights movement was made by the sacrifices of black men. I know women it's like that, but think about the men who headed organizations, whether you agree with them or not. Think about the biggest assassinations, whether it be Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, Dr. King, Fred Hampton. Men standing up, being men, and being willing to put their life on the lines, opening it up for everybody. So it's interesting until Memphis do right by black men. Like I said, you try to hire a good brother that made a mistake when he was a youth, they hold it against him for life. And you got all these black folks in all these positions, so-called power, they don't do right by their fellow man. I'm going to tell you what happened to Memphis. The real black people got ran out of here by the Crump machine, whether it be the Martin brothers, look up the Martin brothers, whether it be the Robert Church Jr. and his family. We haven't really had real black leaders. Imagine if Robert Church and his people was not ran out of here. Memphis will be bigger and more powerful than Atlanta think it is. So with that said, we still got black millionaires in the Memphis. They got, I think we're in the top 10 for black millionaires in the country. And getting back to Judge Joe Brown and make his rounds. Hey,
yeah, well, I'm back. Every time I get ready to say something
I know
I seem to get cut out. But anyway, back to this thing. What I was doing is getting these brothers involved in manhood so they could go out and spread the message to their younger brothers or their sons or their nephews or their grandsons. Hey, don't do this. Because I was looking at something that back in the 90s, we had a situation where in Shelby County, you had 62% of the black males 35 and under had a felony conviction, which knocked them out of being able to vote. You had a situation where, say, in areas like South Memphis, you had 9 out of every 11 black males between 18 and 29 were actually serving a sentence, which means they were not on probation, they were not on parole, they were in jail or in a penitentiary. So that was crazy. That left 2 young guys for every 12 young women out there. Wow. So they were getting around. It was spreading an HIV epidemic, which was horrible back in the early 90s. It was destroying the community because you were ruining the masculine element. And now if you get to the young Democrats, it's just a bunch of unattractive young black lesbians who are trying to emasculate the city even more. And I tell people all the time, hey, it ain't the girls doing the drive-bys. It ain't the girls going out and robbing at the liquor stores. It ain't the girls going out and holding somebody up at the gas stations. It ain't the girls doing the donuts. And by the way, speaking of some equal justice, 2 Memphis cops got arrested by the federal task force last week. So, I mean, this is law and order, what we need. And see, you have to be drastic to just get this habit back there, because they've had decades of, I can do what I want to do, man.
Right.
You know, ain't nobody gonna mess with me, man. You know, like,
Man.
this cool, man. Let me make my neighborhood a hellhole.
Mm-hmm.
See, it doesn't work that way.
You know what's interesting, Judge, what you just said about the police? It was a black National Guardsman from Memphis that was on social media. He made a profound point. He said, man, we're here police to police. Make sure they do what they're supposed to do. He said, we're not here to terrorize civilians. Civilians control the military. We are here to police to make sure they follow proper procedure. It's kind of like the Reconstruction with the soldiers. Like they came in, make sure the white folks were doing right by the black
that's
folks
it.
after the war.
And see, what is this show where they had somebody up there talking about they are afraid to leave the house because of the national? Like, damn fool, you lying.
That's crazy, Judge.
Because if you're out there, you're not worried about what's happening out on those streets.
Judge, it's so crazy, man. Like the way they talk about Memphis, I'd be afraid to leave my apartment, man. I said, I know things can happen, but damn, man, Memphis ain't like it's the Wild Wild West, really. Not right now, anyway.
And what was this thing about? Look what happened to Tyree Nichols. I'm afraid to go. Tyree Nichols got done in by some black folk. Allegedly, it wasn't anything to do with just random police run up under random citizens. They had a personal problem with him. They were looking for him specifically. Now, that's the allegations, but that's not even the deal. It's like, where the devil have you been? Where you say you want what's going on last month to continue to go on, where Memphis is the murder capital of the United States. Mm-hmm. It's the 10th most dangerous city in the whole world, and by far the most dangerous in the United States. And this is sitting right on the American trade nexus. Everything that is distributed goes through Memphis. And these stupid morons are so petty, selfish, they can't even use this for the benefit of the citizens. This ought to be, in 25 or 30 years, the largest city in the country. It is in a position right now to become the Silicon Valley for the 21st century. You can make trade that goes from Memphis going down through New Orleans on these barges. The barges already loaded up. You can put them on transports, send them through the Mediterranean, through the Suez Canal, pick up Hondas, Toyotas, Mitsubishis, Lexus, and Infinitis, and Hyundais, and Kias, and save 9,000 miles on sending them across the Pacific to Los Angeles, and 2,000 more miles to get to Memphis. You can bring them directly to Memphis. Right. You can take stuff we can make here and put them on these barges and send them over there or to Europe. We've got everything we need. We don't have a smog inversion layer. We can have massive industry. We've got the Mississippi River. We can set up hydroelectric generation of power with modular units, so you don't have to pour a lot of concrete, build dams. You've got all of this going on, and these idiots are sitting there blocking it for selfish reasons. You've got Tammy Sawyer acting a damn fool down there and embarrassing the courts. And she is an official of the courts. And those judges can stop this and say, hey, wait a minute. We want you to show cause why you should not be held in contempt for embarrassing misconduct that diminishes the dignity of these courts. She doesn't even understand it. And she and Van Turner need to come up with a justification for why the two of them introduced a private act that let Turner's Corporation buy that park on Union and the one next to the Metal Museum for just $1,000 with no bid. And then somebody's brother, Sawyer's brother, gets the contract to take the statues down and a whole bunch of ducats every month to store the things until they engineer something that allows somebody to allegedly sell the statues for a good chunk of change to a museum. Where's our money? And why is the county commission, not the county commission, the city council, clown council, and the county commission considering turning the operation of all parks over to this green space thing that Turner set up? That's what happened why we have such a messed up deal with our utilities, is when the city privatized the Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. It's been hell ever since. Now, what is this about converting the Liberty Bowl to a soccer arena, building a brand new football stadium, renovating to the tune of $500 million the Mid-South Coliseum, $750 million to convert the Liberty Bowl into soccer arena status, and several billion to build a new football arena? What are they doing when the potholes don't get fixed? The infrastructure has gone to hell. The police department is really weirded out. You've got all of these things going wrong up in here, and nobody is doing anything about developing this place like it ought to be. And they've got time to go spend money like this. Our state legislators that are trying to sue Governor Lee and Trump about having the feds in here to clean stuff up. Wow. What happened with what they did with the $350 million that was supposed to be improving stadiums? It all went to FedEx Forum to build skyboxes. Who went with that mess? And then if you go up to Nashville, have you seen how they have got a supersized Beale Street with restaurants, shops, and clubs and entertainment locations on a 6-lane wide street going on for a long, long way? And all of the new construction they're doing in downtown Nashville. And then you look on the fences and you see the names of the people that are building the structures. And then you go to followthemoney.org and you look up the Memphis contingent, Shelby County contingent in Nashville, and you find that the same people that are building in Nashville are some of the biggest contributors to Memphis's representatives, the same representatives that aren't doing a damn thing for this city and wanted to go back to the crime situation that was going on a few months ago because they are afraid of what? And by the way, when they bring a case, it comes up in front of the judges that the people who live here are elected. So how are you going to get away with, we're going to prosecute somebody under the federal system and we're here to impose a tyranny? How are you going to do that when what you do comes before the locals? Or I hope that the people have been selecting wise judges and a good DA, which is sometimes doubtful. You know, what do you know about who you're voting for other than somebody handing you a sample ballot, which is just what you were talking about, my good brother, when you were talking about Boss Crump. You know, he set that broker thing up. I got a chance to read some of Lieutenant Lee's diary. Lieutenant Lee was one of the first Black Army officers in World War I, and he came back and he got hired as power broker by Boss Crump. And I read an entry in his diary where Crump gave him $10,000 back in the 20s to deliver the black box vote. He took $4,000 to do it. He had $6,000 to put in his pocket, which was a fortune back then. And he's describing how he does it. All of this light up a community with all of the signs. And now, since they've cracked down on that, you get the monopolies that certain families have with the communications industry in this area. And you don't even have to go out and get brokers. You just pick who you want to be somebody, and they are there. And then here's this other thing, too. We still don't have a good election system. In last year, I decided to try that voting where you fill out your own ballot, drop it in, rather than going to the computer and they're kicking one out for you to drop in. Well, there's no way of auditing whether you have a legitimate ballot or not. And I eyeball witnessed 2 people vote twice. And all you have to do is have some pre-marked ballots, walk into a precinct after it closes, and just run them through the machine. And in November, I was down there as a watcher for one of the candidates, and they were having this big hullabaloo down there, which was they had more votes at certain precincts than people who had signed in to vote. How did that work?
Oh, no. They're like some Cook County stuff.
Yes. I mean, this place has been crooked for the longest time, but at least the ordinary person got something out of it. What does the ordinary person in Memphis get? You've got Tammy Sawyer, Van Turner, Urkel Young, Lackadaisical Lee Harris, and Tom Tammy downtown acting fools, and they're just ripping the public off. They're raking in a lot, and we're getting nothing. There's overgrown grass on the freeways. There's trash and garbage all over the place. There's so many potholes. It's like driving through a minefield. People have been killed because of that. During icy weather, there is no sand or salt to put down because Memphis does not have the trucks and the equipment because some silly Simon sold it all. We don't have the grass cutting machines that we need because somebody sold them off. And we are getting billed a great deal because they're trying to run an adjunct out here to what is now Mason with 5,200 people so that they can service a factory with 30,000 people in it and likely a town that'll wind up with 250,000 people. By the way, 30,000 people, are any of them going to be hired from Memphis? Well, Blue Oval, which is not even an American company, it's a South Korean corporation. It's bragging on its site that it's hired 15,000 South Koreans that they're going to bring over to Memphis to work in that factory. So where did our jobs go? And meanwhile, they're likely to steal an invention from somebody so that they can get more water through the pipeline that they already have going out to Mason. Without expanding too much, but billing like they are, and then they're running the sewage back that has to go through our water purification system. We'll pay for it. So what are we getting out of the deal? We are getting jobs, but some of our local yokels are hustling us, pimping us, because they are acquiring the properties through inside deals that will be developed or torn down and still have the land that they have the title to, that they can rent back to facilities. Speaking of which, there's another hustle going on. The feds closed down this privately run detention facility just outside the county. So these characters have acquired some property that they got on tax sales for dirt cheap. And what they're doing is releasing them back to the counties involved, who will improve them and make penal institutions, hopefully to get contracts with the feds to put prisoners in there. That was under the Biden-Harris crap, but I don't know if Trump is going to go for this or the current administration.
Lee Harris said he run out of room to put prisoners in right now. So
he goddamn liar.
Well, you say about warehousing talent, right?
He's a goddamn liar. And you know why he's lying?
Why?
Is he telling the truth about crime went down?
I don't know what the hell.
No. If crime went down, what do we need more prison space for?
Yeah, that's just true.
See, if the crime went down, it was handling the load we had before. So if it's gone down on what it used to be, why do we need extra space? Unless he's lying about needing extra space, or he's lying about it going down. And see, I know what they do. They might have 12 people held up, but they don't count that 12 crimes. They count it as one incident. Okay. And you see, you need to go check out Miss Tammy down there with the records in General Sessions. It's a crime that destroy the record of a homicide, which must be held innocent, guilty, unsolved for 99 years. And they're trying to obfuscate that. But the way to check it out is simply look at the medical examiner's reports that have to be submitted to the state. Look at the hospital records in the emergency rooms for shooting victims. And they're trying to conceal that. See, look at what's going on with the Tyree Nichols case. What is the Tennessee rule about putting a child up for adoption, and do you maintain any rights as a parent if you do? So why is it that we have the plaintiff in the Tyree Nichols case that we have that by law indicates we should not have, because that person has no more standing than you or me?
Mm-hmm.
And why hasn't the city attorney's office raised that issue as a defense, saying, hey, the statute of limitations is run, kick the case. There's nobody that can file an action against the city for $550 million.
I want to talk about, Judge, I'm going to talk about the Memphis stuff. I got a case for you. I got to get your expert opinion on this case. This is making its way right now. I don't know if you heard about it or not, about this gentleman. 2 guys got into a deadly shooting on 3rd Street on Monday. Have you heard about that case?
Yes. I need more details before.
Okay, I'll give you more details. Yes, sir. So this is the guy's name is A.L.L. Nelson. I think it's shown on the screen.
Yes.
You know, he's charged with 2nd-degree murder. But here's the thing. I actually know of him. He has a reputation, not a bad reputation, but he's a master barber. And also he's a very talented, creative personality. He does poetry and music. But he got an interesting taste for all this stuff. But he's a really brilliant guy. It seemed like he keep to himself. So a lot of people were shocked when this came out. But I'm going to read a little bit and also read what they're saying on social media. I want to get your input on it, Judge. It says a live video posted on social media shows the moments leading up to a deadly shooting in South Memphis. This is from Fox 13. Memphis police said they were called to South 3rd Street after 3 p.m. Monday afternoon, October 13th. The man who was shot died later at the hospital. Police identified the shooter as 50-year-old Elliot Nelson. He is charged with 2nd-degree murder. Fox 13 investigates found this was not the first time the 2 men encountered each other. Sources identified the man killed as Antonio Smith. An affidavit from January 2025 lists Nelson and a woman as victim in an aggravated assault case where Smith was the alleged suspect. It says Smith repeatedly swerved in the lane Nelson was in, and Smith also pointed a gun at the 2 as they were driving on I-240. Smith was indicted for the crime in August. Michael Working of the Working Law Firm is not associated with these cases, but he watched the video of Smith from Monday's shooting. He told Fox 13 the fact that the shooter was in the car could be used as a defense in the case. The question would be whether self-defense is applicable, and the law is that Tennessee residents are presumed reasonable in the exercise of deadly force if they're within their vehicle, Working told Fox 13. He added the 2 men knowing each other could also help both the prosecution and the defense. It's certainly a factor both ways. Number one, the state can argue that this man knew what he was doing, he said. The defense would be able to argue that these 2 men had a long history together. And that is why the defendant shooter was scared and presumed reasonable in self-defense. As of Tuesday evening, Nelson was not assigned a bail amount. I think a bail amount was like $300,000 right now at one point. But I also want to read some of the stuff that people have been saying online in social media, because I think it's very important. And Judge, I just want to get your thoughts on that. Let me see if I can find on this Facebook thing. And you know it's about a woman. You know that, right, Judge? This is about a woman. And from what I've been reading, let me see if I can find it. Now, if I'm gonna show the guy Facebook page, the Smith guy, you go by Little Tony, who he did. I'm gonna show you what he got on his Facebook page. He got this right. He got this. He did this on the day he died, I think. Making like he's gonna trigger by Elliot Nelson. Like they say,
I can't hear you.
Oh, wait a minute. Can you hear me now? Let me see. Can you hear me? Let me see, Judge. Wait a minute. Hey, Judge, can you hear me now? You can't hear me? You might have to come back in. Okay, I got my.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me. So I guess you can come in and out. I'll get you. Hopefully, Judge can come back in. So Judge gonna come back in, but I just want to read it. This is a very important story because it been coming across my social media, and people are trying to get people to talk about this story more in depth than what the news organizations have been talking about this story. I actually know this guy Elliot. I don't know him well. I know of him. I've seen him perform. He's a great performer. He does a lot of poetry and comedy, and he's a very talented musician and a master barber. So this was a shock for a lot of people because Elliot is kind of like he's eccentric in his own right. He's brilliant, but it was surprised to hear him get caught up in the situation like he got caught up in this past week with this murder, the second-degree murder charge, right? But what I want to do is do a deep dive with the judge, hopefully come back on. But this the guy page that Elliot is charged with his death. The guy seemed to be very obsessed with Elliot Nelson from this post. He said something, Elliot Nelson blocked me from this page. Okay, and said he got police on me to protect himself. Lenny Kane just told me, wow. He posted this October 13th, Monday at 12:19 p.m. Little did he know that he'll be dead in less than 3 hours, I think. Little did he know. Hope we get the judge back on. But he posted, that's one of the last posts he did. And also he did a live showing.
Can you hear me?
Judge, can you hear me? Judge.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, sir. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. It's strange whenever something gets interesting, I cut.
I just try to go with the flow because they doing a lot to me, man. I just like they feel like they shadow banning me all types. This is weird, Judge. This is a lot of interesting stuff. But I was talking about the guy.
I just got suspended from X.
That's crazy.
They said I'm a bot masquerading as Judge Joe Brown. You know,
you the real deal,
effectively. Yeah. Like, damn.
You've been on X for forever, man.
Yeah, permanently banned from Facebook, and I've never posted anything. And they tell me that they don't like what I was saying on X, talking about lack of free speech. I don't post pornographic stuff, you know.
I mean, you post the truth is porn for these people. The truth is porn. But real porn they'll keep, but the truth, because truth don't take sides. It is what it is. The truth stands on its own. So when you tell that truth, it is what it is. But this guy right here, right, the alleged victim.
Here, I tried 42 capital murder cases as a lawyer, and a bunch of second-degree murders. Used to train the capital defense team for the public defender's office. Here's what I'd say. The charge to the jury is, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the defendant is here charged with a homicide. He has entered a plea of not guilty and claimed self-defense of either himself or of a third party. If the defendant finds himself in a situation when confronted by the now deceased assailant in which he had a reasonable belief that he was to be subject to serious bodily injury or death, he has a right to defend himself or any third person similarly situated. He may even use deadly force. All of the facts and circumstances can be considered by you in determining whether or not he acted in a reasonable fashion when he responded with his use of deadly force. As long as he honestly believed that he was in danger of suffering death or serious bodily injury, he may use deadly force in his defense or defense of a third person. This applies even if he was mistaken as to the circumstances, so long as it was an honest mistake. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you may also consider the propensity for violence that the defendant before you knew of the deceased. You may consider that in determining whether or not for him his use of deadly force was reasonable. And then you go on and you talk about when there are firearms involved, it takes but an instant to press the trigger, and death is then on its way in a fashion too quick to react to. So a person does not have to wait until he or she is fired upon. When the deceased assailant makes what we call in law a furtive movement, which is something that would cause a reasonable person to believe that that individual is immediately going to present a firearm under certain circumstances, as puts you in an intractable position where there's nothing else you can do. You don't have to wait till he shoots at you. You don't even have to wait until he's fully pulled his weapon. When it looks like he's going for one or he is about to, you may take action. I broke the last part down in layman's terms. In other words, dude's drawing down on you. You don't have to wait till he pulls his gun out like Gunsmoke did on TV 60 years ago, you know.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to get in the second shot, because if you don't hit the first, then it may not be a chance. You know,
Yes,
even subsonic bullets moving 850 feet per second, 1,000 to 1,000, 850 feet. You know how far that is?
Yes.
That's 2.5 times the length of a football field, in 1,000 to 1,000, and you standing 5, 6, 10 yards away. You ain't got no time.
Nah, that's a magic bullet right there. Well, I gotta.
No, that's just a subsonic. That's a subsonic 45. See, if you shoot 9mm, you're shooting 1,100 feet per second. Generally, 1,100 feet per second. 300 feet is the length of a football field. That's 100 yards. It takes 1 second for, guess what? Very few, you know, that's 3 football fields.
Right, that's crazy to think about. But still, guns, I don't believe in banning guns. With all that said, I don't believe in banning.
No, I'm not
anything
saying
could
no
be a
banning
weapon.
guns.
Yeah, I don't believe in
Yeah.
it.
Why does the United States Defense Department, or Department of War, as they're calling it now, old War Department, have all the B-52s, B-1s, B-2s, F-22s, F-35s, M1 tanks, M2, M3 Bradleys, nuclear submarines, and nuclear aircraft carriers, and Arleigh Burke destroyers? Because people kill each other. So the best way to not get killed is to have a deterrent you can pose against somebody who's going to do you in. So if you got a collection of individuals doing this, it makes no sense if you know you live in the murder capital of the United States of America, the 10th most dangerous city in the whole world, with the proclivities of the whole world. Remember, this is number 10 in the world now. You got to be a damn fool to be talking about, hey, we need to get all of the guns out of the hands of everyone. And if we just made it illegal, all of the criminals will follow the law for the first time in life. You damn fool. You want to disarm yourself when somebody's trying to take you out? You got to have lost your mind.
But you know what, Judge, like with this case right here, I want to say, well, in defense of the defendant, allegedly the guy
I was giving him his defense.
Oh yeah, so you giving him proper defense.
Proclivity.
I would put it like
the
people not understand.
For violence, you know.
I'm talking about people in the chat.
There's a presumption of innocence, you know. You mean the people in the back.
Yeah. Well, what they claim is that he was in his car, like the lawyer said, he could be in your car and stand your ground. The guy actually punched him several times in the face, and he had the guy's nieces and nephews in his car. They were coming from Little Caesars, from my understanding. But the thing about it is, his brother died, I believe, back in 2020, tragic case. And I believe his brother's baby mama got with Elliot, who used to cut both of their hairs. Like, he used to cut their hair, the brother and his dead brother hair. From what I get from the social media, it's like a lot of confusion. But I want to read this right quick off the social media, what they said. They said they got some first-hand info about Elliot Nelson case for those who actually care to know the truth. This is from De'Ara Lewis. She posted this. She said, "Here are the facts." Maybe I could share it. I'll share the screen. Because, like, this is the power of the media, because they didn't do a deep dive into this. And my understanding, there's been a lot of retribution behind this. Like, Elliot House allegedly got shot up by the family members of the deceased. Allegedly, they shot his house up. They intimidated some of his relatives from visiting him in the hospital. He accidentally shot himself in the process of shooting the guy. And so, like, I just want to read what they're saying about the facts of the case right quick, just for the record. And to put it out there, because nobody's really covering the case outside of what the news have stated. They say, here are the facts. The situation started. I think I got the right one. Okay, yeah, that's the right one. The situation started back in 2023. The man had been stalking and threatening Elliot for years. He said he had money on Elliot's head. It's on his Facebook page. They closed it out to the public now. In January 2025, he even threatened to assault Elliot's daughter. Is on Facebook too. Go to look. You can't look at it because they closed it off. You can see that part where he talking about stalking and taunting Elliot on his cover page. Elliot and his girlfriend already had a restraining order against him, but the man kept driving past their home, following them, and making threats on social media. His girlfriend even contacted the guy's girlfriend now. Contacted the DA's office, asking if there was anything they could do to stop him from posting. I guess that's Ellie's girlfriend. The DA said no, claiming it was protected speech as long as it wasn't a direct threat. When they asked if Elliot could respond on social media, they were told he could. Go look at his page. Elliot didn't start making videos about the situation until about a month ago. And then they talk about the day, October 13th, 2025, what actually happened.
Okay. You know what the message is on that?
What's that?
You go around selling wolf tickets, somebody might buy a book of them to the premiere performance and demand an encore and a curtain call, And as far as the relative thing goes, one of the classic murder cases, first-degree murder cases in front of me, I wasn't a lawyer. I think Tariq Sugarman was judge down at juvenile court when he was a public defender. It mistried on a hung jury the first go around. And what happened was the state was prosecuting this 67-year-old man who was in the midst of holding a fundraiser for a local high school to buy athletic uniforms. And his brother-in-law showed up mad because he had just gotten out of the penitentiary and found that the 67-year-old was telling all of the rest of the family members to stay away from him. He was bad news. So he threatened the guy, said he'd be back. He showed back up, ripped his shirt off for dramatic purposes, according to the multiplicity of witnesses, had a Glock stuck down in the front of his pants, pulled it out, pointed at him, said he was going to kill him. Well, the 70-year-old had gotten his .357, put it in his back pocket. And when the guy waved the gun up for emphasis, the 67-year-old shot him. Bam! So he falls down. He's walking away. He says, son, you made me shoot you. It's your fault. So as he's walking away, the shot person's mother, who is the defendant's mother-in-law, grabs him, said, look out, baby, he's trying to shoot you in the back. So he shoves the mother aside as this fool is shooting at his own mama and him. And there are 5 people who've come over to back him up. They're standing about 10 yards back, 15 yards back, and they pull out their Glocks and start shooting at the defendant and his mother-in-law, who is the mama of the deceased. Well, this is supposed to be on a concrete apron, and the guy is laying on his left elbow, shooting with his right hand at the defendant and his own mama. 4 bullets go through high on his back, low, and completely penetrate him, right? Okay, he falls over, he's dead. Or he rolls over, he's dead. So the 67-year-old gets all of the high school students out of the way, some children out of the way, his wife out of the way, who is the sister of the deceased, his mother-in-law, who is the mother of the deceased. They all testify for him, but the idiot prosecutors are trying to prosecute him for first-degree murder because the 4 individuals that they bring in as witnesses say that the defendants did shoot him in the chest. That wasn't offensive. But as he's laying there on the ground moaning, they say he shoots him in the back 4 times. If the bullets go straight through him and hit concrete, where are the marks of the bullets hitting the concrete? Either the lead smears or the brass that tends to evaporate when that happens. Nothing. So right back where these guys are is a pile of empty 9mm cases, about 17 or 18 of them. They shot their own man. All of these guys have just gotten out of the penitentiary for doing time for armed robbery and attempted murder. So the state has got the innocent 67-year-old who owns this apartment complex, who's raising money for a high school, who is being testified for by the victim's mother and the victim's sister. And he just got out the penitentiary, and everybody says he comes up flashing the Glock. So you see, that was stuck on stupid for the prosecution to even bring the people in. Meanwhile, some detectives show up wanting the 4 witnesses for armed robberies that they've been pulling off. And from their perspective, the witnesses shot and killed the defendant, not the defendant, killed the victim, not the defendant. So that's how stupid it is. So we elected Steve Mulroy to be the district attorney general. So let's see how he handles this case. I think the man needs to be out of jail on what you're saying. And I don't think his bond needs to be $300,000 because this is not the one to go jack up trying to show you tough on crime. It's all those other thugs you've been letting out on their promise to show up without even having a pre-trial release report on them that shows they're likely to appear. This man has ties to the community, and there is a certain degree of righteousness that appears to be implied by what you state. I don't know. I'm not a witness. I'm not giving anybody any legal advice. I'm just stating my opinions on the law. And the other thing is that, hey, you're presumed innocent until you're proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And it sounds like this guy has caught hell from the victim for the longest time.
I think it was like because he's with his brothers, his dad brother's girlfriend or baby mama. That's what I'm getting from the story is like, you know, him being with the woman that's his dad brother's girl, whatever. He couldn't let it go.
That same thing with the Tyree Nichols case, according to the street allegations. So, you know, supposedly the deceased in that matter, the Nichols matter, was involved with baby mama and wife or wives of some of the cops. So, I mean, I don't know how true that is. I'm retired. It's not.
Yeah, it's like it was a personal thing, though, Judge. It had to be personal. It seemed like a personal thing.
It looked
like he was so sickly that he had to die like that because he just. If it was like, I ain't saying nobody should get an ass beating like that, but I'm saying if he didn't have the disease thing, or maybe he would survive.
That Crohn's disease.
The Crohn's disease.
I'm not. Yeah. He would have lived. He just had his butt whipped. And supposedly, and other thing too, Mulroy apparently didn't know what he was doing. See, he should have charged him with murder in the first degree, murder in the perpetration of a felony, 2 with aggravated assault, which is what it looks like they intended to administer to the guy anyway for personal reasons, not as they are hyping it. The Democrats around here as random cops run into random citizen on the street and randomly act a fool. No, it looks like from what I've seen, the allegations or heard, they were looking for him because, you know, or another woman or a woman is involved. And what you're telling me is, so what if his ex-girlfriend wants to go with somebody else? That doesn't give him a right to go harass
His brother, his
all
dad
of them.
brother's girlfriend, his dad brother's girl.
Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't give him a right to harass somebody in perpetuity. You know, hey, back off. You might. I mean, you can take the most docile dog or animal and goad them into attack. So
Yeah,
I mean,
I just, you know, it's sad that we don't have real news to report on real stuff in our community like we should. Like you talked about monopoly owned by the families. Then I look on social media, people never been below the Mason-Dixon line. They got they telling all about Memphis. They get all the people, and it's like it'd be like some falsehoods what they're talking about. It's like I've been in Detroit and Baltimore. I love them places. It happened to be black folks. A lot of crime, but I love places like Detroit and Baltimore and stuff. I'm not afraid. I'm not looking for trouble either. I'm not trying to be a Billy Badass. When I go out to people places, I respect people and I keep it moving. I try to stay positive, you know, high frequency and all that stuff. But it just really said that the biggest crime to me in Memphis is not the crime on the streets, is what's happening in the classrooms or not happening in the classroom. You undereducating the population. That's the biggest crime to me. You're not teaching critical thinking or type of skills that can make you gainfully employed in the next 5 to 10 years. And I would tell people in Memphis, you better buy you some real estate. You got real estate now, you better pay your property taxes because this is going to be the playground for the rich in less than 20 years.
I tell you what else is going on. In the school classrooms, you've got some radical feminists, anti-masculine feminists trying to ruin these boys. You've got some good teachers, good female teachers, but you've got some poisonous ones too.
Yeah.
And the other thing,
they trying to sleep with them.
Yeah,
and it'd be the women sleep with the kids.
Yeah, well, I don't get bent out of shape about a woman sleeping with a boy. I get bent out of shape about some guy trying to sleep with a young girl. That's poisonous.
Well, you don't think that could be damaging to you? Don't think that could be damaging to
yeah, hell no.
I mean, they're attractive though. They
think about your adolescence. How hard was you trying to get you some? And here's a school.
I mean, it was attractive people. Why are these women that so attractive?
Hey, I wouldn't have been offended. Instruct me, teacher, if you're good looking. And I had some good looking teachers too. So I said, instruct me, baby. You know, hey, I ain't gonna get hurt.
But you say they kill masculinity though. But
that's what the point is.
Yeah.
See, we've got stuck on stupid these days. It's like you look at the birds and the bees, and there's this attraction between male and female. They say, you know, why did this dinosaur have this type of, you know, frill of these horns? Right. Was it to defend against T-Rexes? No, they're now saying it was because it was a sexual attractant.
Right.
Why do you get the silverback male gorilla weighing in at 700 to 800 pounds and the females are 150? You know, why do you get the male chimps bigger than the female chimps?
Right.
You know, why do you have lions with manes and much more massive than the lionesses? You know, you get these things. So when you get humans, you know, what is this thing? These men are just trying to objectify beauty. Well, let's get real about this. If humanity did not objectify beauty, we'd still be looking like chimps and gorillas and Australopithecine africanus, you know, in a cave. We'd be looking too cool. So we like good-looking women. But, you know, it used to be the honorable thing where you would consider it if you told a woman, that's a very nice dress. You look excellent today. Now they want to call the police on somebody because he just, I mean, they've been doing this for hundreds of thousands of years, and all of a sudden in the last 2 or 3 decades, this is supposed to be civilly or criminally actionable. I mean, it's like the only time that somebody has license to tell a woman she looks good is if the teller is a lesbian and she trying to mac on her some kind of nookie or something. But I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. No, I mean, of course, there's excessiveness, but I mean, there's always somebody that'll abuse a situation.
Right,
That's
right.
why you have courts. But the point of the exercise is they're cutting back on normalcy. These boys look straight ahead. There's some fine looking young girls walking by these young guys and they're looking straight ahead or looking away. Like, man, what
I mean, but
man,
you can if you say one thing and take it out of context, but like the thing about it is role reversal now because the women are more aggressive than the guys and they got more sexual experience, and that's a problem. Women shouldn't have. I don't believe women should. Women thinking like dudes and dudes thinking like women. Not. I ain't talking about the gay stuff. I'm just talking about the way they approach each other.
Yeah, and which one is the daddy? Remember the Moor Polish stuff? And guess what? This is the 8th DNA test, and he is not the father. Oh, see, and
hey, Judge, I know a guy. Hey, Judge, I know a guy who's 101 right now. He didn't know he had a son till his late 90s. That's how deep women can be. Like mama's baby, daddy, you don't know.
Yeah, see, you can't tell. Now they have DNA, but the problem is that, you know, the stats on it, this is really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Census information studies that they do show that there are more boy virgins 25 years of age than girl virgins. That's ridiculous.
That's sad. That's crazy.
There are more boys at home 30 years of age and under than there are girls. The problem is for the last 25 years, the stats are that only 28% of the nation's high school graduates are male each year. Only 32% of the college undergrads are male, and only 36% of the grad students are male, and only 44% of the American workforce is male. What kind of mess is that? And I put it this way, they've had a take your daughter to work week for the last 55 years. They have not had one that says take your son to work. Not one, but it's a semi-official event. Take your daughter to work week.
That's crazy, man. I just
and then the other thing, this been 14 years ago, the Defense Department was concerned about the toughness of the recruits, and they said we can make you physically strong but not mentally tough. And we attribute that to the fact that so many of our recruits have not been raised around a male figure, male role model, no fathers in the home. And they found that their recruits, 82% of those 20 years of age and younger have been born out of wedlock, whatever the race or ethnicity. See,
that's by design, though. You talk about this, Judge. This was going on decades ago. This plan.
Well, I used to get on the late poet Nikki Giovanni. She toured all around the country in the 60s, telling the girls at these big assemblies that they didn't need a man, that the worst thing they could do was get married because that was a form of slavery. And they needed to find some tall, handsome, athletic guy and get knocked up, and then, as she put it, don't even tell the son of a bitch that he's the dad.
I tell you about the 100-year-old guy. He didn't know he was a father till he was in the 90s.
And we had, when I did the show I was doing, which was actually binding contractual arbitration that we televised, we had the biggest fertility clinic in America as a consultant. They told me over and over again for 15 years, only 5% of their customers were married couples. 45% of their customers were lesbian couples. And 50% were single women who didn't want to be bothered with a baby daddy.
Right.
Now, I remember when I was a kid, sometimes I'd roll with my mother, sometimes my father. And when you got with my mother, her friend girls, they would be talking about me and, girl, they all so and so and so and so. You know, they such and such and such. But when I was with my father, his homeboys and my uncles and their co-workers, they talk about, women, they're emotional. You have to humor them because you need to protect and provide for them. So that just goes with it. They get childlike because, they can't control their emotions and they cry all over everything. So it is what it is. And you listen, oh, wow, and then you grow up, and since you're a man, you take sides. You take the man's side, but you see, they program you to say you got to take care of them, provide them, love them. But, you know, it's like you're the head of the household, and you're that because you listen to their advice, but it's your position to make decisions. And then your grandfather's in there, and your grandfather was born in the 19th century when they still had a frontier, or they still had Jim Crow, and the Klan riding around. So he understood that there was a warfare element to it. You had to literally protect the life of the people in your household.
Right.
So when it came time to do it, they'd be crazy if they didn't listen to you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
now they don't, it's so much job. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, you thought he made a great point in his presentation to the generals?
I think he did. And it was time somebody did that. And by the way, it wasn't just the generals.
Okay.
That's the press. They had the senior non-commissioned officers, those sergeant majors and, those guys that make it happen when the officers say something. Those guys that interface with the boys, the troops. And, I know a guy, he retired as a major, he's a good guy. And he was in SOCOM, Special Operations Command, for about 19 years. And he tells me this guy used to pump a lot of iron, man. So every time they had the physical stuff, he'd be overweight for his height. So they'd send him to the hospital. They'd check him out. He had very low body fat because this dude's pumping serious iron,
Yeah, right.
And he could keep up with anybody. And this is one of those dudes you send on those deep missions, and they do Halo, jump out of the airplane at 35,000 feet and pop the chute at 1,500,
Yeah,
this one of them dudes, wear the beards, that you don't want to mess with.
Right.
Ain't nobody to mess with. And, he was saying, I approve of that. And everybody he talked to approved of it. And, I think it's only right. These days and times, don't ask your troops to do stuff you can't do unless you're one of those 4-star rankers. By the way, the highest permanent rank is 3 stars. You can be breveted up to 4 stars, but once you get 3, 4. If you get 4 as an official rank, not just breveted up, you can't retire because they want your mind. You're the chess player. You can make the chess moves on the board and win the war. That's what they're there for.
Like Eisenhower would say, he rather be called general than president, whatever. Like he preferred general title. The white Eisenhower. Yeah, he preferred to be called general.
Well, see, Eisenhower was supposed to be the smartest officer in the U.S. Army. I'll tell you something you still deal with from him. 1932 and 4, he drafted the National Defense Highway System. 385, I-40, 240, 55. They're all parts of that system he designed 80-some years ago. And when he got to be president, he implemented it. And it's interesting because it doesn't necessarily run in the straightest line. It runs so it details the most sensitive areas that would be of interest to an invader. It also sneakily does some stuff about laying out control zones for a city. If you were in Los Angeles in 1965 for the so-called Watts riots, you saw what they could do with the Harbor Freeway. Just a platoon with 45 men and 5 mounted or tripod mounted M1917 30 cal machine guns could control miles of what happened. Nobody could get across the Harbor Freeway because they had to field the fire to go down, 1,000 yards that way and pretty much make it a mess to try to get across without permission. So when they sent the National Guard into Los Angeles, or when Eisenhower sent the National Guard into Little Rock, when Fulberson's 57 was talking about, as long as I'm governor of the state of Illinois, Arkansas, there will be no Negroes coming to Little Rock High School. And that's essentially what they're doing, where the governors are refusing to follow the law. And the idiots are here. We don't care if they're criminals and people in Memphis get killed and robbed and kidnapped and their cars busted all up. We're going to make sure that criminals have no consequences. It is horrible for him to send in troops and federal resources to restore law and order.
And Eisenhower was Republican president. Them Democrats signed the Southern Manifesto. Al Gore Sr. didn't sign it. I don't think Lyndon B. Johnson signed it. But the Republicans, the reason why we got so many civil rights acts and voting rights. It was the Republican Party.
The longest filibuster in American history was in the 1960s by the Democratic Party to prevent the Civil Rights Act from getting passed.
And we still vote. You black, we on the Stockholm syndrome, Judge, ain't?
Well, you know what it is.
With people out there trying to call me a raccoon and everything. It's just really sad. I'm for my people. My people ain't for us, man.
Here you go. George, it's a very interesting situation we have here. We find that the Negroes, they calling themselves black these days. Is it African American, George? Anyway, they act in a very peculiar fashion. Now they got themselves free. I don't understand. They so anxious to get back on that plantation. Maybe we shouldn't have give up when we did. They ain't going for King Cotton, but they going for that Queen Rainbow. What's wrong with them? Have they lost their manhood? Why, George, I just don't understand why they doing what they doing. They have so many opportunities, George, but they just give them away for cheap, too.
I can close now about Trump, like the job he's doing. I think he's doing an amazing job. I don't agree with everything, but I'm impressed by how much he's getting done in less than a year on the job. It's incredible.
Well, this dude is doing exactly what he promised to do. And what is it? He's got 9 ceasefires going on. 8 of them he's got in place. Ain't nobody done that. I mean, and what he's doing that these folks don't like is this. The country is constipated by this crap that the Democratic Party has been feeding the public. And when you got a constipated system or individual, you got to give it a laxative or give it an enema. And when you do either, eventually the shit starts squirting. And what it does, it smells. And people may not like the smell of what comes out when somebody does what's necessary to get it out. So this guy's giving the whole country a damn enema and is fed it a laxative to try and get everything cleaned out. I mean, think about it.
Oh, yeah. He got a lot of energy, too. They sound like he bad. I said, no, he's not. He do all this stuff in 24 hours. He do. I don't think he sleep. He just be on the run, jet setting everywhere, doing this and that.
And wait a minute. I'll give him another one. That is the finest woman that's ever been first lady, is sitting up in the White House. And he pulled it down. And remember that sister that was that fashion model he was dating before he got her? She was straight up fine too. This dude pulls down some fine women. And you notice, look, all of the far left feminists talking about they get cut out. This guy's hired more women in the White House to do stuff that anybody has ever done. And they're bitching about it. What is that problem?
It's him doing it. If it was Obama or Biden perhaps doing it, it'd be a different story.
Yeah, I mean, look, really? They want to get on him. He's trying to set up fascism. He's not the one that set up lawfare to abuse the Bill of Rights and use the criminal process of the country for persecution of political disfavor.
No, they did
You
that to
know,
him.
yeah. I mean, they're the ones. They're the ones where the last creep, the hyena one that was running with a Walson boy, they were talking about we need to look at the First Amendment because we need some restrictions. Unlimited free speech is dangerous. They said that.
Right.
I mean, look at it. I mean, come on. And why do you open the southern border? They don't even come up with a good reason. You know what the hang up is on that?
What's that?
See, if Kamala had gotten elected, the president, by constitution, being specified as the chief diplomatic officer of the country, could have issued a proclamation or an executive order declaring them to be political refugees and entitled to asylum. She could have, under American law, given a retroactive date, January 2020. So the interesting thing about that is if you are granted asylum, you don't have to take all of these tests that most immigrants have to take to become citizens. You don't have to attend the classes. You automatically get your citizenship in 5 years. So 5 years from 2020 would be right now, and they would be eligible to vote in next year's midterm elections. Now, what kind of crazy goddamn fool comes up with opening the borders wide up when you got Al Qaeda, ISIS, you've got Hamas, you've got North Korea, you've got Iran. They all hate our guts. You've got the People's Republic of China grinning away about how they're going to take us over and subsume our position as the number one economy in the world and as the number one military power. You open the borders wide open, and they don't have to hijack any airplanes. They don't have to drop in by parachute, come in by rubber boat, launched by a submarine. They got invited across the border and given free transportation courtesy of the Democratic Party wherever they went. They don't have to play suicide bomber. They've been able to walk across with military-grade explosives in their backpacks peacefully and take their time in planning them and just sit back and keep the batteries charged up in their detonators until they get the instructions. Flip the switch, boom, 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 and it all comes down. And 911 with the Twin Towers and the Pentagon looks like Mickey Mouse and Walt Disney pulled it off.
So somebody said, well, you just echo, like, did you hear about Tim Walz, I guess the governor of Minnesota, giving illegal immigrants free ID and driver's license so they can vote?
Yeah, I heard that. That, by the way, you know that thing about having to have real ID license with the star in it? That's because of these idiots like that in New York and California. It started off giving licenses to known illegals. So that now we all have to go through that clown show of going down and getting our licenses redone. And it gave everybody an excuse to get more deep into your business because you notice they're black now and they're not in color. That's because when you slide it through, all of your data pops up computerized because the chip in the new licenses gives them a big 8x10 color picture of you, even though what's on your license is just black and white. And it also gives all your information about your work and your credit rating that they know and all this other kind of stuff. So now you just gave them an in to get more information on you. So this isn't the Trump administration. This was something that the Biden idiots did and fools like this Walz. So what is this about when they start making it harder for us to be just ordinary Americans? Meanwhile, you know, You get ranked across everything you can get ranked across if you get disorderly at an airport or a train station, a bus depot, and by disorderly, you just give the wrong looks. But that started some years ago.
But
That's
yeah,
not
it's the
under.
Patriot Act, though, Judge. This the Patriot Act that was passed 20 some years
Yeah,
ago.
Patriot. That was
We
right
it should
after
never pass that,
9/11.
Judge. We gave up
Yeah.
everything. We gave up
See,
everything.
they give stuff up when everybody gets frightened and somebody tries to ramp it up. And then I didn't like the fool, George W. Bush, with that sickening grin. We have terrorists getting ready to engage in terrorism, and that's why to fight terrorism, we have the International War on Terror, and we will keep terror in it. He said it 25 times a sentence. Well, the point of it is you can't declare war on an idea, but you damn fool, and I know you an ignorant fool because you don't study crap. You could have read Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution that says it's your duty as Commander-in-Chief to assist the Navy in pursuing, suppressing, and eradicating piracy wherever found in the world, so you don't have to declare war on piracy. Article 6 of the Constitution says that treaties that are ratified by the Senate become part of the supreme law of the land, along with the Constitution. Now, the Senate has ratified several treaties declaring that hijacking airplanes is piracy. So when Al-Qaeda and supposedly bin Laden see to it that 4 airplanes get hijacked, that's piracy. So that means that the Navy, under the Commander-in-Chief, does not need to declare war on terrorism. They already have a stated obligation to pursue, eradicate, and suppress piracy wherever found in the world. So they send Navy SEAL team out to deal with bin Laden in a compound in Pakistan. They already had the justification, but this sucker is sitting up there going through that along with weapons of mass destruction to deal with the fact that his family enterprise, Halliburton, formed by Uncle George Herbert Walker, wants to get the right to exploit Iraqi oil. And then we find out, well, what did we look at? Well, we saw George Herbert Walker Bush. Guess who George Herbert Walker Bush's first cousin was? The grandfather of Barack Obama. So that makes Barack Obama, George Walker Bush, and guess who else? Cousins, Dick Cheney. Guess who else was his cousin? Governor of Alaska, who was Sarah Palin.
Jesus Christ.
Who was, guess what?
What?
McCain's running mate when Obama ran against them for the presidency. So he was running against his cousin.
It's a family affair.
Family affair.
Well, you know what's interesting?
And, wait a minute. Stepdaddy, Lolo Sotoro, who adopted him, did a lot of business with George Herbert Walker when George Herbert Walker founded Zapata Oil that was financed by Uncle Herbie, George Herbert Walker. And then he, guess what? Had a holding company, Zapata Offshore Oil, chartered in guess where? Kuwait, to get away from the American tax stuff. And the Walkers and the Bushes and the Sotoros did all this business together. So Barack's granny, the VP that is now revealed to have been a major entity in the CIA structure, distributing funds in Southeast Pacific areas, Southwest Pacific areas. She pimped her 19-year-old daughter off against Lolo Sotoro, who was almost 30 years older than her, and married him off. After she had pimped her 17-year-old daughter off to Barack Obama Sr., who was a Kenyan student they were trying to seduce.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting how they work these things, you know.
But that's interesting that, you know, 'cause I remember when George W. Bush invited the Taliban when he was governor of Texas as state under guest 2 years before September 11 happened. Then they say they're the enemies when they suppressing the opium trade and all that growth of opium. They were actually doing us a favor. But I'm thinking about Donald Trump. You think about what's going on with him, the Venezuelans, and with the drug boats allegedly. It reminds me of Thomas Jefferson in Tripoli. It's like he understands. He's a student of history. He knows exactly what he's doing, but he don't even get the praise. Because I think about he had one Russian hoax, 2 impeachments, 34 felony counts, a couple of assassination attempts, and the man keeps on going like an Energizer bunny. I really do believe that he's doing it for America, and also people got to understand or understand that our greatest leaders a lot of times they're not appreciated in their prime. Or when they're doing the work, it's afterwards when you see the results.
That's very true. And see, the other thing is, he's probably done more for black folk than
he doing it now. He's saving black lives.
He's doing more than Obama did.
And Obama was
he had the paint job. He certainly did more than George Walker Bush. He certainly did more than Bill Clinton. He certainly did more than George Herbert Walker Bush. He damn sure did more than Ronald Reagan. He did more than Jimmy Carter, and I like Carter. You know, he did more than drunk Jerry Ford. He did more than crooked Tricky Dick. The last one to do as much, and now he's exceeded that with somebody that they can't stand, which was Lyndon Baines Johnson, who used to be viewed by black folk as great white daddy in the White House. See, and then you had Eisenhower. Eisenhower, I think, watched his step, because if you've ever seen a picture of his mama, she looks more black than a whole lot of black women, you know.
Oh yeah, I seen pictures of her young.
Yeah, doesn't she look like she's a sister?
Yeah, it's like she passed. Yeah, I could see. I can see that.
Yeah, I don't even think she could pass too well. So,
you know, Justin Davis had a light skinned woman too. He had a light, mullah. What do they call them?
Yeah,
they all had that. All them guys, even Nathan Bedford Forrest like black women.
And I met one of Lyndon Baines Johnson's sons. He had 2 when he was president. One was born to Marie Brown, no relation. He's a white guy, looked just like a younger edition of Lyndon Baines when I met him. Big ears, same face. And I met one with a very, 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 very slight suntan that he had born to him in 1966 by fair-skinned black secretary in the White House.
Yeah.
So Marie Brown introduced me to the 2 of the boys. So I said, oh, they look just like LBJ, you know. Well, they were young men then, but you know, it is what it is. So
it's interesting. It's a crazy time we're living in. What do you think about Trump Justice Department going after people like Letitia James and John Bolton and George Soros? People keep talking about the Epstein files, but look, he's going after George Soros.
I don't give a damn about the Epstein files. I mean, so what? You got perverts running around free of charge, and they infest Hollywood and all that. But I am concerned about this other stuff. And Tish needs to be touched. And those gals would like her big ass when she gets up behind the bars in the federal penitentiary. And the nerve of her to go after President Trump for allegedly doing what she's been doing. You know, she claimed her daddy is her spouse to get some illegal loans. And did you see the latest one today? I haven't verified it, but they say she got indicted down in Virginia for harboring one of her nieces who was a wanted fugitive. Now, I don't know if that's true or not.
Wow.
But I'm expecting some stuff to come out of that, because you make a false statement on a loan application or financing, and that application is at a federally insured bank, you give the feds jurisdiction.
Let me ask this, Joe. Why didn't Biden pre-pardon her she was doing all the dirty work, her and that lady down in Atlanta. Why he didn't protect the black prosecutors doing his dirty work like he did his family?
Because they double crossed him. His deal was to get in office. They would push him in office and he would resign after a year and a half. So the Cum Queen would be, the hyena girl would be the first female president of the United States. She'd get the remaining 2 years of his term, and then she could run and get elected for 8 more. So she could get 10 years in there. And he was mad because, as he said, when he selected her, he said, considering the Democratic Party's principles, we need to have equity and inclusion and diversity. He said DEI. And that's why I have no other option but to choose Kamala Harris as my running mate.
So he was forced to do it.
No, I can't see any other qualification for her other than she's got the right paint job.
Well, actually, this what about the sister of the Federal Reserve, Lisa Cook? How she, had fought against Trump to keep her job, and that's job protection to 2038. She got that job until 2038, and I got an issue with the Federal Reserve. There's not. Really
I do
federal.
too.
Yeah.
I do too. And you know why they have a Federal Reserve?
Why?
Because a long time ago, Congress gave up on trying to understand high finance, and they said, we don't know enough because too many of us are dumb bunnies, and some of us may not be dumb, but some of us have other agendas we have to push, so nobody has the expertise. So let's set this up so they can deal with it. And they delegated the authority to them.
And that Democrat and Woodrow Wilson helped get that passed. That's how he got president.
Woodrow Wilson was a racist Democrat. Dog. The United States Navy, unlike the Army, was integrated. They had senior chief petty officers in the United States Navy. The sailors bunked with or hammocked with the white sailors. There was no segregation in the naval services. Washington, D.C. was not segregated. That bastard signed executive orders segregating Washington, D.C. and officially segregating the United States Navy and decreeing that there will be no more senior chief petty officers in the U.S. Navy.
And black folks voted for him.
Yeah.
Joe Biden. Man endorsed the plan in the White House. That's the guy that black
ring me the bell so I can ring it and get the niggers to be jumping around like they supposed to. Ring, 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 ring. We are the victims of white supremacy, and this is racism. They wouldn't let me in the courthouse because I'm black, and this is racism. Look, folks, Lord. I think it's section 39-17-1307 and 8 in the criminal codes of Tennessee to deal with it. Now, there was a way around it, but she could have perhaps gotten permission from the judges to do something about that, since she does work for them, though she seems to have forgotten that fact.
But Tammy always been good at bringing attention to herself and her causes one way or the other.
Well, she was big enough. All she had to do was show up. She kind of blocked out the sunlight when she walked through a door.
Okay. But she do. Even from the Forest thing all the way up to now, the Black Lives Matter. It's like even with Justin, he has a way where he fits in with the national scene for the Democrats. You think about AOC and Jasmine Crockett. He fits in with that type of crowd.
Yeah, but you know what he's doing?
What?
I'm sure the anti-gun crowd that hangs around Nashville and the rainbow crowd up there would love to know how heavy he's been touring the gun shops down here, trying to convince people that he is a strong supporter of the Second Amendment.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I find that funny. He's been showing up at the gun ranges.
Like I said, people need a protection, man.
He is working to pass legislation to exempt Memphis from the constitutional carry provision of the rest of the state, so we won't be able to pack in Memphis if you're a good citizen. But he is trying to give this false image. So folk are looking at him laughing like, yeah, you really expect us to believe this BS that you're pro-gun? Oh, hell no. But we'll humor you since
But you know what interest with you look at his rallies, they're like revivals. Like people really get into the Holy Spirit.
Oh, he get to shouting and playing TD Jakes in his younger years, just pimping away. Or he's trying to act like Malcolm, or trying to act like King. Which one is he? Or is it all just make-believe because there's something else going? Now, I found something interesting. Okay. Barbara Cooper, the late Barbara Cooper, distinguished late Dr. Barbara Cooper. I knew her for 50 years, and I considered her a close friend. She fell, hurt her hip, had a blood clot. She basically died of the after effects, but she was still vigorous, and from the discussions I had with her, real sharp. Well, she was on the ballot as a deceased candidate. She got 34,000 votes approximately. Justin got 1,600. And when he got elected, he got about the same. So here's somebody with essentially no opposition gets 1,600 votes versus 34,000 votes. And if you look at his contributors, you will see that the anti-gun crowd, the rainbow crowd, gave him massive campaign donations. And you can find it out by going on followthemoney.org.
Okay.
They'll tell you who gave what to whom, when, and why, and how much. So I guess what embraces how much. But anyway, it's interesting looking at stuff. You've been up to Nashville and seen the entertainment areas up there.
Oh, it's amazing. Nashville amazing. I don't care for, but I respect. It's like Atlanta. I understand the allure.
Yeah,
I don't want to live there, but I understand why people love it though.
But have you seen all of the massive construction downtown?
Yeah, you can't miss it.
Have you seen the fences? Read the signs for the constructors on the fences. When you go to followthemoney.org, you'll see that those same people have been donating very heavily to the people that are supposed to represent Shelby County, the same ones that help introduce, co-sponsor, and vote for legislation that favorably impacts Nashville and do absolutely nothing for Memphis.
Well, this bit, what Steve Cohen should get another term? I mean, is he the best?
Oh, hell no. Steve Cohen, in going on 20 years of being in that office, has one claim to fame. He got a resolution passed that says the congressional cafeteria has to use paper straws for environmental considerations. That's all he got passed. He's white, he's gay, he's Jewish, and he's in one of the largest majority black districts in the United States. They'll deny it now, but several years ago, he was listed as the chairman of the Black Caucus's Reparations Committee, and he is a member of that caucus. He's also a member of the Liberty Caucus, a very influential member, and the Liberty Caucus is the LGBTQIA Rainbow Caucus up in Congress. Okay. So he's been doing more for that caucus than he has been doing for the caucus that represents the overwhelming majority of his constituents. He got in because there were 14 black folk running to replace Harold Ford Jr. when he resigned to run for U.S. Senator, an office he didn't have a chance of winning, but he did. Resigned. So we had 14 black folk in that race and one white Jew guy who was gay, Steve Cohen, and he got elected. Not elected, he got the Democratic Party nomination. So this is a heavily Democratic district, so they've been electing him ever since. And you always have this bickering going on, lack of finance, and some corrupted election machine activity to make sure he stays where he is. Now, it's their right to do what they want to do in their bedrooms, get their freaks on, and entertain themselves. It's their right to use the First Amendment to express their positions and engage in the political process. But what Steve Cohen is doing is not doing a damn thing for the 9th District. It's doing a lot for Cooper Young in Midtown, but it's not doing much for the black folk that live in this district.
I mean, does he have dual citizenship with Israel too?
I have no idea.
But we the last on the pecking order. It sounds like we don't really get.
We are the last on the pecking order, but we don't have sense to go pick somebody who is more vigorous in his representation or her representation of our interest in Memphis.
I know what it bothered me though. I can remember the 2006 things like it was yesterday, and really, I think Harold Ford Jr. dropped the ball. He should have really went behind Nikki Tinker because she worked with him. She was supposed to succeed him, and I think if Nikki Tinker had won, we wouldn't have no Steve Cohen in office at all. His career would have been over. He would stay.
Nikki Tinker,
yeah, because that was Harold Ford Jr. person, but he
was that the lesbian that was running.
I don't know. I don't know if she's a lesbian. I know she worked.
I know there was one woman, even the lesbian community said, hey, you need to lighten up a little bit on it. Let us know you are a woman. That was before that tranny thing got big.
Yeah, she wasn't a Memphis native. I think she was from like Alabama somewhere, but she worked with Harold Ford Jr. And when he ran for Senate against Bob Corcoran, because he almost won, and then that Hollywood Herald commercial came out with the white Playboy bunny type girl. Call me sometime, Harold. And the East Tennessee said, hell no. He's still one of y'all. So he almost beat Cork a little bit. He almost had a check. They were trying to make him the first black president. I remember when he was the It thing. He was Mr. It. He was on everybody's national TV show. I mean, he was on Talkin.
They let him be the keynote speaker at the Democratic.
Yeah, Obama came out of nowhere, unless that was by design.
Well, Obama came on the scene. I'll tell you this: I'm supporting Charlotte Bergman.
Okay, why?
Because she knows what she's doing. She's into what's going on. She's got a grasp of economics. She can cross all sorts of lines. She can walk out in the hood, which Steve Cohen ain't gonna do. She's got the contacts. She's got the thoughts, and she's got me advising her. So some other folk too, and she makes a pretty good speech, and her heart's where it's supposed to be, and her mind can back it up. And
so
she's not going to
do a debate with her and Cohen and Pearson. You think it could happen?
No, remember, you have partisan politics. So Cohen is showing about 1.2 million in his treasury. Pearson is showing 0 at the last report that was required to be filed last week, but he has 250K remaining out of the 1.5 million that the gay and anti-gun crowd got to him after that invasion of the legislative chamber that got him kicked out temporarily. But under federal law, he can't use that for a federal campaign. It has to be specifically raised for a federal campaign, not transferred for something else. Now, so let them beat the crap out of each other. And I think Lee Harris has an interest. And I've been told that Strickland wanted to rely on the area out here around Millington to get him through a primary ahead of Cohen and maybe Pearson, trying to throw a lot of money at each other to get the core of the 9th District. So, I mean, as far as I've known Cohen for 40 plus years. I don't think he's what we need. Never has been. And he's just in there because he's a Democrat and the district is loyal to a party. Now, there are 2 types of political loyalties in America. Loyalty to an agenda, which is fine. and loyalty to a party, which is not so fine because that means that the Negroes go out and support the old plantation masters who are now not working for King Cotton but Queen Rainbow because they're loyal Democrats, and there are those who are loyal to certain ways, like I support the Bill of Rights, I support equality of opportunity, I support manhood, the family, I support strength, I support education. You see, if somebody says the Republican Party does that best, I support them. If somebody says now the tables have turned, I support the Democratic Party because they do that, fine. But if you just say I'm lifetime, never will be anything else but Democrat, you're just a Negro on a plantation, and you need to get out from behind the fence that's in your stupid, ignorant mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care if somebody doesn't like it. You're a fool if you vote for a party just because you've been conditioned to follow that bill. George, don't you think it's mysterious that these Negroes, they just, when you ring that bell, they just salivate, they drool all over the place. I mean, all you got to do is say, race and all this, and some of their worst enemies look like them. That guy Malcolm X been dead 60-some years. He said it. Worst enemy them Negroes got is the liberal white boy or white gal. Sure enough, they have them out there. And we get along with our color. There ain't no lie about that. But I just don't understand how they votes Democrat. Now, we's old line Democrats. Our daddies was in the Klan and White Citizens Council and everything. But I'm glad they support the old party, but I just don't understand. They got no sense at all.
Yes, sir. Well, Judge, thank you so much for your commentary, colorful commentary, thoughtful opinions, your wisdom, your knowledge, and your time, because you can't refund that time back. So I want to thank you.
Hey, no problem. But I'm getting the clothespins or the room deodorant for what's going to happen when this enema takes effect. I love it that the National Guard, the state troopers, the FBI, ICE, DEA, what is the other one? Let's see, ATF, they're all in here. I saw a bust on Sycamore going up towards stage last week. It was in daylight, getting toward evening. And MPD had pulled some people over and they were being backed up by FBI. I said, man, look at that. I haven't seen this in a long, long time. But the states are quiet.
It's weird, though. It's so weird, though, just be quiet like this.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but all this foolishness. And one thing you're not hearing, I don't like it when somebody's trying to be generous and share their music with you from 4 blocks away, and you hear all of the bumper vibrating and the license plate zinging, and you hope, like, man, come on. I don't want to hear that.
Well, I guess the YN season is officially over. Them guys staying at home playing video games or streaming or something.
Yeah.
So they ain't the corner with the Dracos.
One thing that they're likely to do is taking a look at the rap industry. So many of them are getting killed, not because of rivalry, but because you know what they're doing?
They're money laundering, right?
There you go. And they aren't exactly accountants, and they have a whole lot of cash. And oh man, ain't this some money, man? I'll put it back. And the money gets funny and they die.
That's right.
That's what's
those companies got life insurance policies on these rappers, which is interesting.
Yeah. And when you start trying to take somebody down in Miami and then LA and you're unsuccessful and you get them in Memphis, you say, whoa. You start revisiting Tupac and Biggie Smalls, whoa, and all of this foolishness where somebody gets shot up, whoa. Money gets funny. Remember that barbecue place that was great for the ribs, and they had
Ridley's. Yeah, that's going back.
Remember
Gridley.
what happened to old man Gridley? And
You told me about it, but you said they were
yeah,
accidents, right?
yeah, the accidents, and they stayed open till 2 o'clock, 7 days a week, but the cash registers would close about 8, and they took cash and out of town checks with no ID but no credit card. Yeah. See, Memphis is the first degree murder capital of the United States, and I'm not talking about the street crime. That thing with the firm that John Grisham came up with, there was a reality to that. See, you have a connection with organized crime that's real deep between Memphis and the East Coast. They used to send people here to retire. Some of them were nice people when you encounter them, pleasant to get along with, somebody you drink a beer with, somebody you'd listen to because they'd school you.
Right.
But, they've always looked at Memphis as a place to launder money because of the economic opportunities that nobody pays attention to. But if somebody asks, you could demonstrate to show there's a need for a big cash flow. There are a lot of cash flows that occur in Memphis because of its rap connections, the fact that it is the center of distribution for the country, the fact that you have such a discrepancy between those at the very bottom with the lowest per capita incomes and those at the top with some of the highest per capita incomes. It's an excellent opportunity to launder money. I'm not saying anything anymore on that. The rest of it is speculations.
I know a lot of car washes and laundromats and stuff.
Hey, and I don't know these people. Oh.
A lot of mattresses stores. Who buys up mattresses at the mattresses store?
Yeah,
everywhere.
There's a joke. You can tell when your neighborhood's falling by the number of dollar stores and Five Belows that you have and the number of car washes to get installed. When you get too many, it's time to move on up in the world and get yourself into another residential area.
It's crazy, man. I saw just last week, I saw 2 Take 5 car washes. They was on the same side of the street, just like, I was like, wow, business must be booming, man. It was busy. I think, man, this is Memphis stuff. But yeah, this
may be broke, busted, but have your wine polished all up.
Well, thank you, Judge, so much for always bringing some levity and also some insight and wisdom to these conversations that need to be had. It's amazing the people that watch these things, but I look at the YouTube and all this. It's like nobody's watching it, but I go out in the streets, people watching. And I hear people talk about these shows, like even council people have approached me, people in the city. I don't think he's saying the truth. I said, well, prove him wrong. Bring your receipts.
And you know what I find funny? Is see the perpetrators. I won't mention the name because I don't want to get started, but they've got one that's been on. He was so in love with Kamala Harris that he got offended that I was talking about her sleazy self during the campaign.
Yeah.
So he wanted to jump up and say he was equating that with me talking about his wife and what he'd do if I talked about his wife. Now, irrespective of the fact that he's been pushing Rainbow, and he got up and embarrassed himself by crying on television, begging his wife to come back to him. I mean, he got to saying with his last little episode, he was going to tell his friends on the street in Memphis not to kill me.
Judge Memphis, I know, because that's street talk. That's Detroit player talk, right?
Yeah, well, that's ignorant talk. And then he wanted to say, we weren't in the top 10 in the ratings. You weren't. I was number 1 or number 2, fool.
That's right.
What happened to you? You got left behind. They were giving you chump change. Read what Wikipedia was saying about what my income was. And you mean you didn't get that? That was giving you wasn't even making $1 million a year? Oh, man. I made that in a couple of days.
But you think they butt broke him? You think Hollywood got to him? They
Oh,
butt broke him?
look at him. If you watched this at home with him for the last couple of years,
Mm-hmm. No,
what's
I
he
haven't watched
pushing?
it. I haven't watched it. I can't say I watch it.
What's
Go
he
ahead.
pushing?
Probably pushing the rainbow glitter. But he got a couple. Is it one of his sons or his brother? They
Strike two.
Okay.
Strike two.
I see them alone.
And he begged his wife on TV to please come back. Strike three. You done lost your manhood credentials.
So basically, he self-emasculated himself. He volunteered for it.
He did something I've never seen anybody lawyer do. At the time, the U.S. Supreme Court and the appellate courts in the country, the federal side anyway, was very interested in the impact of TV in the courts.
Okay.
So they invited me, Judge Napolitano, and Judge Mathis. Well, when we showed up, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals was there, and several of the current members of the U.S. Supreme Court were members of the Second Circuit Court of Appeals.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken in my recollection, several active members of the U.S. Supreme Court were in the audience. So you're a lawyer and you get a chance to talk to this group. You know, that's an honor. You know what he did?
What do you do?
He sent his regrets saying he had to rehearse for a gospel show. You should have heard the comments that some of these federal judges had to say. And this was when federal judging was, you know, a deep thing, especially on the Second Circuit.
Right.
And it's not like it is now, but it was really an important thing. And you rehearsing for a gospel show?
Wow.
What's the matter with you?
That's interesting.
And then he said something that I found interesting. Was a joint appearance by several of the TV judges, Mills Lane, Judge Alex, I think, if I'm not mistaken, me, Napolitano, and some other people. And we were talking about con law, and he just blurted this thing out. Well, frankly, I think the U.S. Constitution is unconstitutional. And I wouldn't hesitate to declare it unconstitutional. Mills Lane said, Judge Mathis, how are you going to declare the Constitution unconstitutional? Well, they just declared me 3/5 of a person. What? You talking about Article 1? It doesn't say you're 3/5 of a person. It just says all persons held in slavery or involuntary servitude, 3/5 of their number shall be counted toward the apportionment of representation in the House of Representatives. What the devil is wrong with you? Well, you just don't understand. Like,
I heard he had a temper on him. He's short with people. Somebody told me it was on a Zoom call with some VIPs. He just cut it short and just locked out. Just, you know,
well,
they
I
said
wasn't
something.
I wasn't going to watch a show down 150 and I'm hitting number 1 and number 2 in the ratings, beating Oprah and Phil the last 4 years, and Judy and I were battling it out. But, you know, he was down there clowning around, so I don't know. And he didn't practice law long. He certainly wasn't on the state bench long. And most all of his career was in La La Land. So I spent more than that time in the real world before I got out there with La La Land, LA, you know. I think he was doing it up in Detroit. Where was he doing it? Shooting it in Chicago. Yeah, but he was from Detroit.
Yeah,
you
from
know,
Detroit.
Detroit's crazy. You know, Detroit. Wow.
You know, it's funny. I hear folks from Detroit criticizing Memphis, but they never been to Memphis. I said, y'all Detroit. I mean, I like Detroit though, but I said it's funny. You know, people. There's like these perceptions. Like you said, you actually had a real career. You actually had some landmark cases. You involved in some historical next level stuff, and you know, instead of them knocking you off, they send you to Hollywood. That's a good thing. They got you out of Memphis. Now you back in Memphis.
You don't know
They
what to
tried
think
to,
of.
yeah, and they tried to knock me off for real anyway, but it didn't work.
I
Apparently, I
see.
scared them. So, no, I mean, seriously, boom, boom, try to knock you off. This was back in the 90s, but it
Right.
didn't work. So apparently, you know, they stayed away.
Yeah, you a badass. You definitely a badass. Like I said, you got a lot of fans. A lot of you white boys, they love you. You white guys, military
You know,
guys. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with anybody. You treat me right, I treat you right. You go for what you go, and I understand the thing called xenophobia. There's no human being on this planet that doesn't have bias and prejudice
Of
against
course,
something
of course,
or somebody.
of course. That's human
And,
nature.
you know, that's your problem. That's your
Mm-hmm.
business.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree.
I don't care. Just act all right. And, you know, I've had white folk save me from some mess. I've saved some white folk from some mess. I've had some black folk betray me and some black folk help me.
Right.
So, you
Just
know, I've
people.
had Asians are cool. I've
Mhm.
had Hispanics who are cool. I've had Native Americans, and I'm one of those myself. So, you know, it is what it is. And everybody came up out of Mother Africa. Some went to Europe and got real pale. Some went to Asia and got yellow. Some came over to America across the isthmus and got red. Some
Mhm.
came back around and got brown. So, I mean,
That's
it's
right.
all you can breed. It's like saying it's all a Cadillac, and you know, some of them come in white, some of them come in tan, some of them come in yellow, some of them come in black, some of them come in green, but it's all the Cadillac. But the way
Mhm.
these fools do is like the color determines everything, and you can't tell me that a black Volkswagen is the same as a black Rolls Royce or a Bentley. Lost your mind. I got a 260 horsepower 911 twin turbo enhanced. It's yellow. So you want to tell me that a yellow Prius is supposed to be its equal? Hell no. I had a
I hear
dark
you.
navy blue with tan interior Bentley. You trying to tell me that somebody's fly broke down Chevette is supposed to be on the same level? Hell no.
Yes, sir. I heard copy Roger there.
So what the devil does the paint job have to do with the essence lacks?
Yeah.
So you know what gets me? See,
Well,
I went to school when they didn't have affirmative action. I helped draft one of the first affirmative action programs in the country, but it was race neutral. It dealt with situationals that could apply to any race. Now, granted,
mhm.
they applied more to some than others, but that's a way around it. We knew back then you can't say we need a quota, we just need this many. That is not going to work in the country. So we set it up. But one thing that I knew was that everybody that made it worked at it. Wasn't anybody giving you shit. And
Mhm.
right now, there's no white supremacist sitting on the other side of somebody's kitchen table to keep from teaching the kids what they need to be taught. And if you don't know, you read one chapter ahead of them so you can teach. Teaching is a good way to learn something,
That's
by
right.
the way. So why is nobody teaching their children the real world, and they want to sit there and tell them, oh, you're entitled to $280 pair of Air Jordans and your
Mm.
short behind will never play pro basketball, but I want to hold my head up like, see what I get my baby. Mm-hmm. You
You
do
tell the truth,
better
sir.
giving him $280 of your time so he gets his head together and he's not at the bottom of his class. Look at Memphis. Do you know what
Mhm.
the very lowest category is on the achievement in Memphis City schools?
What is it?
It's Hispanic males. You know what is the next lowest achievement? It is black males. The next one is white males. Do you know what the highest achievers are in the Memphis City schools?
Black females.
Sure is. And you
Mm.
have a majority of the school teachers in the system are black females. So they have simpatico with the black female students, and the boys get neglected. And it's interesting because some of the older teachers now retired or offended by that
Mm.
because they understand that they had good husbands, good fathers, good grandfathers, good uncles, good
Mhm.
cousins, uh, good female coworker or male coworkers. And, you know, they don't like it when somebody downs somebody as a conscious thing. So, you
Right.
know, it doesn't work when one half of the human race is trying to tear down the other half, and there won't be any more people if you can't breed with them. And the other point that gets me is we discourage these youth from learning boys and girls 101A and B. Now, as an adult, after a while, you'll say, you know what, the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with and learn?
Mm-hmm.
It's dealing with the opposite sex.
Mm.
Whether you're a boy or a girl, girl's going, what is he thinking? Is he really interested? What can I do to get his attention? Blah, blah, blah. And the guy's going, hey, man, what I need to do, man? What's this lady about, man? Is she trying to work me? Or is this real, man? I kind of like that woman. How am I going to get her to pay it? All of these things, see, the lure of what they do with the rainbow in schools is they tell you if you deal with this, you never have to worry about this other difficult thing, which is learning to deal with the side of the human race you need to get with if they're going to be more humans. You can get away from it.
Mm.
And if you just get a lay and you get knocked up, you don't want to have any husband at home, and you just want a baby daddy so you can get a check, you don't have to learn it either.
Mm. I mean,
But
wow.
you know, women are great for giving advice, but they have to be wise enough to know how to give it. And you need to listen to the advice, and you're a fool if you don't listen to it. But you're ultimately in charge in your household. I don't care what anybody says, because if somebody breaks through the front door, it's your job to defend or die trying.
That's right. Yes, sir.
And you're a lifeboat.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that means?
What?
You're on the average cruise ship. Lifeboats are all over the place, but you know, you don't pay any attention because you don't need them. You get a Titanic situation going on and you damn sure need that lifeboat.
Uh-huh.
When it hits the fan, you need that man. That's a saying. When it hits the fan, you need that man.
Yes, sir.
And it's about to hit the fan with what Mega is doing, because they're getting rid of all that constipation.
Mm. Well, you had 300,000 black women lose their jobs over the last several months or previous several months.
Well, yeah, that's a problem, but here's the situation. You have to take this into context of only 44% of the American workforce is male, and that's across all demographics.
Mm-hmm.
So when they get to squawking, what happened with the guys who didn't get the jobs? And when you're talking about DEI, how many of these guys that are supposed to be heads of households are not working because they got turned down because it was a female with the right paint job?
Mm. There you go.
So I don't know, but I think it'll adjust in a while. And I'll tell you an experience I had with the feds to explain this. A lot of the people working for the feds are surplus to requirements. When I was in D.C. more than 50 years ago doing an intern thing with a D.C. think tank, I walked over and got a job with HUD.
Mm-hmm.
We were dealing with accumulation of statistics on minority participation in higher education.
Mm.
Well, when I finished up the internship and I was going back to L.A., I walked on down, saw the director, and told him I was resigning. Oh, no, please, no. That'll just wreck the money. Just give me your forwarding address.
Wow.
So for the next 3 years, I got a paycheck every month, and I hadn't showed up a day for work. Statute of limitations ran on it, but you know.
Wow.
See, why was I getting paid and not showing up for work? And why was I getting told, don't report this?
Wow.
It may have been 18 months. It was either 18 months or 3 years, something like that.
Like
But
Don,
anyway,
hey, like Don said, the game is rigged, man.
so I mean, why should I worked for a federal agency one time, and there were a lot of veterans in there, and we did a lot of work. It was EEOC.
Mm-hmm.
And that was before somebody got in that tried to destroy the agency. We did a lot of good work. And, I was getting cut slack because I was a lawyer, and some of the people in there just couldn't write some of the things that needed writing, but I could. So I just said, hey, you're having me do work way above my pay grade. So I'm coming in at 9 o'clock, not 8, and I'm taking an hour for lunch. I'll stay 2 hours after the office closed. I'll do it. But meanwhile, we had one woman that continuously got drunk, and there was a special trash can they had so she could throw up in it when she got too drunk. There was somebody that had problems with his old lady that kept him from being involved in doing his work. And there was somebody a little nuts that kept things from happening, So I'm looking at who works in here. Damn. Some of the guys, the sergeants, the ones who have been non-coms in the military, Marines, Army, Air Force, you could count on them doing the work. But some of the other ones, it's like, really? So anyway, the feds, I see the point. It's supposed to be employment and promotion based on merit, which is a good thing.
Right.
But sometimes it becomes an insulating thing because essentially you can't fire anybody except for good cause. And you work around somebody and they have problems, and this is how they're hanging on. You don't want to turn them in. So there weren't many whistleblowers.
Mm-hmm.
But there needs to be an enema put up the behind end of the federal system.
Okay, smaller government. That's not a bad thing, I guess, in times like these.
Not necessarily smaller, but relevant and effective and functional government. You've got too many people who are stuck in the corners, who are there because they came in and the bureaucracy protects them, and they interject what they want done that is contrary or may be contrary with what the political appointees are trying to get done to reflect the will of the American public.
That makes sense. But Judge, thank you so much for insight and giving us some more food for thought as usual. Is always on time.
All right. Well, anytime,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I like causing trouble.
I see you like that good trouble. I don't know if it's good trouble, but hey, you get a reaction. That's the laws of physics, right? For every action, there's a reaction. So people are watching and listening.
Hey, you know what? I won't say anything that I gotta hide from.
I got you.
I'll say it, walk out right and shake your hand. I'm not gonna hide from
you about that. Yeah, you about that life, Judge. You right there about that.
I don't like all these folk like we have representing Memphis, like our mayor. I have to go everywhere with 5 or 6 armed uniformed cops because he needs a bodyguard from the people he represents.
Well, he looked like he's stressed out though, like you've been doing some stress eating or something like that. It's like something going on with him.
Urkel.
Yeah,
he's worried, he's nervous about what he's been doing is going to catch up with him. And look at Tammy. Her fantasy that all these people after her and she's getting these threats. You really think anybody would waste their time going after Tammy Sawyer?
I don't know. It's kind of like mental illness is real. I don't know. This world kind of crazy right now, Judge.
Hey, that's like at least Fannie Willis down in Georgia has a little bit more class going for her. She gets a little bit bigger gold when she comes to her wrong going. But like you pointed out, have there been any female people that are assassinated who are Black? So she's angling to be the first one. Oh, I've got all these threats, so I need my own security. Like, you can't ask a judge to, or you can't send over to Bonner, the sheriff, saying, hey, look, I'm the clerk down here. I need extra security because I have reasons to fear for my life. You can't do that. You got to go hire some off-duty somebody from Mississippi. And by the way, who's paying him?
That was great questions. Follow the money. Oh, raise some more questions. Yeah, well, you know, you hear the provoke thought among the people, wake up the dead.
I look at Harrington, Ford, elected officials walking in and out of places, Joe Brown walking in and out of places all over Memphis. And our mayor needs a heavy bodyguard to go to Folks Folly or Houston's before it closed down. Last comment, look at all these businesses that have closed up on Poplar because of crime. Buckley's, Houston's, Rayford's, One and Only, you know, you go down the list, Carrabba's, all of these places have closed up. Why? And it seems to me that the business of the mayor's office and the executives for the city would be to keep business thriving, but it seems to be going to hell in Memphis. And there are a whole lot of dollar stores and Five and Below and car wash.
I started thinking about that Popular.
Pop it up.
Like, you know, Memphis like a shanty town or something from the 30s.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't have a dollar store popping up on the Poplar corridor.
All right, Joe.
I know they got a big one or something like that open up out there right across from Wolf Chase Mall. And, you know, the mall closed down. The Cheesecake Factory closed up. You know, Bahama Breeze closed up. I mean, everything's closing in Memphis. They had Macaroni Grill closed up.
I forgot about Macaroni Grill.
What has happened to this place, man? Everybody is leaving.
We still got Gus and some other stuff. We still got Gus and Soulfish Cafe. And a Chili's. I guess a couple of Chili's. But Joe, you made some great I needed this lamb, Judge. Thank you so much.
All right, man. I gotta get out of here. I'm out, brother.
Thank you.
Peace to you. All right. Ciao.
Oh my God, this is hilarious. It's interesting. I guess everything must change then, huh? Nothing stays the same. So I just want to thank Judge for all his candor and all this information. And like you said, y'all can do your own fact check, like the lady from City Council said. I don't know if he's saying is correct. I mean, just do you? She there every day. She know what's really going on, and I don't know, man. We just need. I think the people of Memphis. I think this is like a turning point. Like I said, this is a reconstruction. It's not an occupation. It's a reconstruction. There's going to be some surprises developing over the next several months and a couple years that's going to even shock local Memphians and Memphites or whatever you want to call yourself. So, but they said, thank y'all for tuning out to tune in to get in where you fit in. I got to read this disclaimer. I know people like, oh, Brother Ron said, I didn't say that. Judge Joe Brown said it, but I respect this right to say it because I'm going to read the disclaimer. Disclaimer. I'm still got this mic on. Hear he. The views expressed by hosts and guests on the We All Be TV platform are not the official views, opinions, beliefs, or perspectives of We All Be News or the We All Be Group Incorporated. We All Be News is an organization that thoroughly believes in supplementing the information narrative that is usually supplied by the corporate news entities with those viewpoints and expressions which may be marginalized or ignored for a plethora of reasons. We are about informing the general public on alternative perspectives as it relates to news and information and letting the general public be the ultimate judge in deciding on how to use said information. Informed citizens are responsible citizens. Thank you for your support. Thank y'all for tuning out to tune in and get in when you fit in. Support Cash App $R2C2H2. You can Vimo your support at R2C2H2. You can Apple Cash your support 901-299-4355. You can also PayPal and Zelle R2C2H2 at gmail.com and patreon.com/weallbe. Thank y'all so much for giving up your time. Please spread the words from Brother Heard. If you like what you heard, please spread the word. We all be in it to win it. Words of Great Skelton. We love you madly. Oh, I love this. I said, you talking about Judge, right? My man looks like he on a safari. That's right. Judge always doing big game hunting. Judge O'Brown, big game hunting. Words of Brother Ron. Keep on producing and pushing. I'm out of here. Enjoy yourselves. One love. Word up. Hey, word up.